that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but man's keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Greg Cote, are you aware of what it is that Jeremy, this is a yes or no question, don't give away the answer. Are you aware of what Jeremy is doing today?
I asked him who he was.
Okay,
so I am aware now.
All right, you asked him, he told you, and then you now know who he's in a costume of. Stugotz, right. Do you know who Jeremy is dressed as today?
Tony Finau.
Welcome back, Jeremy. I hope that everybody is happy to have Jeremy back. I can't say it with a great deal of conviction. I suspect he will unleash an assortment of truly terrible puns here. Do you know, Stugotz, you want to take a second guess on who
So it's not Finau.
Who do you think Jeremy is dressed as today? Jeremy generally dresses better than this.
Jason Day.
Okay, so we're not going to get a good answer.
He does look
here.
like an unsuccessful PGA Tour player.
He does. Very unsuccessful. Right. Somebody they wouldn't let into the country club. Somebody who's been banned because he thinks he's as good as the other golfers, and they've already told him he's 20 strokes worse than they are. Jessica, you have a good idea for us where we are allowed. I know that you and the rest of us missed the Olympics already, and I know you have a lot of Olympic opinions that have not yet been given. But you want to now merge. You've got a great idea in August that merges the Olympics and football in a way that I believe Stugotz and Greg Cote will endorse. Let's find out together.
Bronze medal game for the third place winner of the NFL season. Yeah. The losers of the AFC and NFC championship games play each other for a bronze.
Could they be as happy as Jokic was winning a bronze? Now, these two are on record as saying it's worthless to win a bronze. Finishing in third place is for losers. You're just the second loser.
I'd rather see the worst two teams in the NFL play a game the week before the Super Bowl for the first pick in the NFL draft. That's just me.
But don't the staffs already get to coach in the Pro Bowl? How much more reward do they need?
It's not just reward. We need to ravage those human bodies just a little bit more for a game that matters even less than the Super Bowl. But if you put it after the Super Bowl, people will be more interested in it certainly than anything Pro Bowl related. If you put it before the Super Bowl, people would be a hell of a lot more interested than anything Super Bowl related. If you put the Super Bowl out 3 weeks and you play the third place game first.
Stugotz, you would watch a Lions-Ravens game last season for third place. I know you would watch it.
Yeah, because I bet on it. I mean, so I guess that's a good thing. Otherwise, I don't care who wins the game. Like, I don't care who the third best team in the NFL is.
Yeah, players wouldn't care either.
Right. I've heard a similar theory that you have a game going on there, but it's like the two worst teams in the NFL, and they actually play for the right to have the number one pick. The winner gets it, and that's a way to like avoid tanking.
Steve
like
Martin,
that.
I mean.
Yeah.
That's a great
really?
idea.
I'll pay. I'm sorry, guys. By the way, this is a poncho.
Wait,
it's supposed to look oversized.
I just said it, and your response was good idea. I mean,
I don't know what just happened there.
So
that's a fine for me then.
Yeah, it was super confusing.
Getting older. It's very clear to me. Is it Chapel Roan or Chapel Roan or Chappelle Roan?
All right, you are going to have to go to the penalty box for that. I don't think that's a fine, or I don't think that's just a fine. I don't know why it is.
We've got a major penalty, 5 minutes, derailing.
I want to answer my question.
It's Chapel Roan.
Jessica and Mike have made Jessica and Jeremy have made Mike very old this morning because they were talking about this video that Jessica described. What's the toilet video? What is it?
Are we really going to do this, Dan? I don't think you want to do this right now.
Well, I don't know what it is. I don't understand what's popular here. Look, if I don't understand it, Stugotz and Greg Cote are going to feel even older at what is a viral, stupid video as everyone in the information age tries to get eyeballs, and some stupid toilet video has now grabbed everyone 10 through 20 years old.
Skibidi Toilet, Dan. Skibidi Toilet. That's the big one for Gen Alpha. They love it.
Gen
Skibidi
Alpha?
Toilet. Gen Z a little bit. Gen Alpha really loves it.
That's not how generations work.
Yes, it is.
No, that's way too soon to have another gen.
Started in 2010.
Why are you still here?
Because I think I'm necessary for this, honestly. Like, you guys, I'm old enough as it is. You guys responding to the viral video, like, I think I can help.
This is also a viral video from like 2 years ago. Which
Delayed-
Is the best
That's why
part.
it's great.
Delayed penalty.
Yeah, you guys got it in our zone.
No, I don't. But I don't want you here during this.
All right,
You
suit
need him
yourself.
here. You need him here.
I've got lines, but all right.
Awful. Terrible what we're watching.
You've got lines?
It's gonna haunt
I
my
was
dreams.
prepared for this after I have a huge
Lines.
issue. Have a huge issue, number one, with another. I don't know what the hell I'm watching is right now. There used to be gatekeepers when it came to viral videos. You used to have to earn it. Now all of a sudden, a girl says 4 words into a microphone and she's being interviewed by Bill Maher. This is bull. Bill Maher didn't interview the Grape Lady. He didn't interview Shoes, oh my God, Shoes, or Leave Britney Alone, or Chocolate Rain Guy.
What about Charlie? You bit me.
Charlie Bit Me, a
Whatever
legend.
happened to that kid?
Do you understand? If Charlie Bit Me happened today, he would have a brand and a Dogecoin. You kids have ruined everything. Gatekeepers are good things. It used to be a good thing to have to go to E-Bomb's World to see what was popular. Now, just you TikTok away and you got a T-shirt deal, and it's unfair. All right, I'll go serve my penalty.
All right.
The audience must be so confused. What happened this morning was Jeremy told us he came back from camp with a lot of Gen Alpha children.
Yeah, that's right.
And they taught him a lot of new phrases. And one of the phrases, which we'll get to in his top 5, sparked a conversation about this video that went viral on YouTube a couple years ago that somehow came into my algorithm not that long ago and is now getting a treatment from Michael Bay. They're going to turn it into a feature film. So then, of course, now this goes into the mainstream. And until now, probably the only people that have heard of this thing are people with young children or children themselves or the people, the campers at Jeremy's camp.
Yep.
Feature film.
And it really pissed off Mike Ryan to find out there was a Gen Alpha.
You don't, Gen Alpha, I'll get to that in a second, but you don't get a feature film because you go viral. There are steps in this process. You go viral, and then you go on Tosh.0 to do a web redemption. And if that goes viral, then we can start talking about Hollywood. You don't go straight to Michael Bay.
Michael Bay is top of the food chain. Why is Michael Bay interested in the stupidity of this video, and why is it that Jeremy is bringing in something 2 years old from 12-year-olds?
It's not 2 years old for them, Dan. It's 2 years old in terms of a video, but there is no phrase that I heard more than Skibidi Toilet, than Skibidi Toilet Riz, than Skibidi Riz, Ohio Riz, or just Skibidi Toilet on Ohio Riz.
I can't be the only one that thinks this sounds
Ohio
like
means
super
stupid.
right?
You're not the only one.
No, this
Well,
is
it sounds Ohio.
This is John Woo doing a movie on hide your kids, hide your wife.
This is appealing to the generation, and there will be a couple of, all future generations are not going to know what cursive looks like, are not going to know how to write cursive, and all future generations are not going to need to know how to read, right? So this is the first of those generations grown up on the stupidity of how videos just sort of addict you and make your brain rot and your eyes glaze over, but you won't have to learn how to read.
I was a couple of generations early, huh?
You were. You're a visionary. You're a pioneer that way.
My daughter's still learning to read. That's still happening.
All right.
That.
But this is, am I wrong about this? This is, if we're going to create another generation already at 12 years old, that generation is going to be addicted to a phone smarter than the one Greg Cote brought in here, right?
Right.
It depends on what they're showing up on YouTube. Like, my daughter asked me, she just makes up words because she saw it in a Russian YouTube video, and she's like, "What's a nutria?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "That's the water in your stomach." I'm like, "I'll look that up." I don't think so.
Is Gen Alpha now a thing? Is that officially
that's
so?
born between 2010 and 2024. So literally, there's bar mitzvah boys out there who were part of Gen Alpha.
So we're giving it like a
B-boys.
hurricane name
Why
instead
are
of
they
a letter.
alpha and not beta? Because this is real beta energy. Why do they get
It goes
to be
from
alpha?
it goes from Z
Beta
to alpha.
energy.
I don't think so.
Why can't they just be 14? Why do they have to have a name?
You don't get to make
I
that
don't
up.
think they get to be a generation yet.
Wait, do generations get to name themselves? Because Tom Brokaw called his generation the greatest generation. I'm like, that's mighty convenient.
No, it was, though. My dad's generation.
The Brokaw generation.
Yeah, no, my dad's generation was the greatest generation. There's no doubt.
You do have a point there.
It's true.
Is
Frank
Brokaw-
Sinatra.
Wait a minute.
Easier time,
Is
man.
Brokaw's? Wait, how old
Tom Brokaw?
was? Question mark.
Wait, hold on. Brokaw still with us, isn't he?
It's a question mark. I put
Terrible
question
news
mark.
today is I've passed away, according to Dan Le Batard.
He's 84.
Yeah,
So
he's
is he a
still with
different?
us.
He's not a different generation than Greg Cote.
It's the greatest generation.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he is.
He's the greatest generation. I came after that. I'm
Cody,
the
you're a
original.
boomer, right?
What's my generation
Aren't you a
called?
baby boomer?
Am I a boomer?
I think you're a boomer.
I think I might have been 1 year too late to be a boomer.
I don't know how old you are.
What is the year difference between generations? What's the number? Is it? I've always thought of it as 20 years between generations, not 14.
So it's between 15 and 20 years usually. The greatest generation was actually born between 1901 and 1927. So Brokaw, that doesn't even apply to him. It's the generation before him.
Again, I just simply want to get this right. The reason it's a generation is because we're assuming that that you're having kids at 16, 17, 18. So therefore, the difference between the generations has to be 16, 17, 18 years, which would put Greg Cote in Brokaw's generation if he's within 14 years, possibly. Am I wrong? Do I have this incorrect? Are you saying that your dad's generation is the greatest generation when I think you might be saying your generation is the greatest generation?
Generations are separated by 21 years, so you know.
Well, they're all it's kind of all socially constructed to begin with, but baby boomers were the generation born after World War II during the baby boom when there was a humongous population
Right,
growth.
including me.
That would be Greg Cote.
Yeah, that's true. Brokaw was born prior to the boomers, which it makes him the greatest generation, along with my dad, Wild Bill Cote, and Frank Sinatra.
At first I thought you said Anne Frank.
And Frank was pretty good, too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
You owe $5 for coughing. You've been racking up fines, and you're not paying any of them. So you owe.
I gave you a $100 euro a few weeks ago.
You gave me a $10 euro.
You gave me
I
a
meant
$10
to
euro.
write another zero on it.
And then I passed it over to Jessica because she's been getting all of the fine money. You owe her about $45, so you can Venmo it to her because you got to start.
Venmo. Venmo.
You think he knows how to do that?
Venmo. I'll write her a check is what I'll do.
That boy.
Yeah, how dare her know what to do with it.
I'll take it.
I'll
Hey,
get a
mobile
money order from the
deposit.
bank.
Guys, I'm a millennial. I know how to deposit a check, all right?
Do you think if Don't Tase Me Bro happened today, Lin-Manuel Miranda would have to write a musical about it?
Do you have cash on you?
I got a lot of cash.
All right, give me. You owe for a bunch of coughing and an assortment of things. Mm-hmm. And for like 3 weeks running, and for not paying any of your fines before this. I'm going to say $38, and you're getting off cheap.
You guys ever see that dude describe that leprechaun that he saw that one time? Now that deserves some eyes.
Jessica, I'm surprised they don't like your idea around here. They don't. Thank
I'm really
you.
sad. I mean, like, what was I know the players wouldn't be into it. Yeah, okay, we can
That's
talk
kind
about,
of a big deal, though.
we can talk about all
That the
the
players not wanting to do it.
the
I mean, you're a
serious
free agent. Why would you play in that
logistical
game? I mean, you
But
get
like
injured.
from just a pure fanfic perspective, can we just go down the road? Like we don't have to bring all the actual reality.
No, but all you got to do is incentivize it. If none of the stuff about human bodies matters in the football we're watching, we can make a third place game and attach stakes to it somehow, and then everyone will get invested. The stakes just have to matter.
Why not a last place game? Because there are times, there will be years, Dan, where the first player in the draft is so valuable that more people will watch that game than the actual Super Bowl.
Okay, now that
I mean, you're playing for Caleb Williams.
Great idea.
That is for the fans, and that is just for the fans. But if you also made it for the players and worried at all about safety, what you could do, Jessica, is you can make the third place game, right? We were so excited. All of us were so excited. Look at how much these professional athletes care. Durant cares. Jokic cares. They care more about this than the pros. You got to put money on the table to make them care. You got to give them a few $1 million
Or stakes.
so that everyone else, put stake.
Right.
Look, fewer stakes than the Super Bowl game, but put stakes on it. Put
fillets, ribeyes, put all the steaks on the table.
Flank.
And play for meat. No, what they should do is
it,
have the two teams with the two worst records play, and the winner of that game gets the overall number 1 draft pick.
Okay, get out.
That's what they should do.
All right, get out.
Then you've got stakes.
All right, get out,
Right?
Steve
Steve
Martin.
Martin.
You go
Yeah,
sit with
both
Mike
of you.
Ryan.
Yeah,
go
sit together.
go
You
sit
deserve
Mike
each other.
Ryan. Go
Right.
sit with
Yes.
Mike Ryan while you're out
And
there.
the winner
Yes,
gets
yes.
not only the number 1 draft pick, but a fine
Jesus.
marbled
Got a penalty,
ribeye.
5 minutes, major
Tomahawk.
Yes.
I just thought Stugotz would want to maybe screw around talking about 2020 Bills Packers with me, but apparently
No.
wait, we have to talk about all the serious ramifications of playing an extra game. Yeah, I agree with all of that. We're doing a thing here, guys.
I know we're doing a thing. I'm all for an extra game. I'm all for more football. I'm just presenting a better idea, in my opinion.
Let's
That's
do
all I'm
both
saying.
of those.
Right.
It all works.
Okay, Jessica, I'm sorry to do this to you, but you're not allowed to tell people that we're doing a thing. That's not something we do
reminding
on this
Stugotz.
show. So,
Major penalty, 5 minutes. Grooming comedy.
Just me, you, Chris, and Jason Day.
all right, Raygun is what Jeremy is doing in the corner there. And now that you've made a couple
Raygun.
of jokes, can you please tell me what you think Raygun is? Because
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Raygun? I mean, I don't know, Dan.
See, this is a little unfair because, the viral thing was not her name. You know what I mean?
No,
I
but
more
this-
just knew it by looking
no,
at her
but
than her
I don't
name.
think this is the thing with Stugotz. All right, I made fun of him.
Something at a Star Trek. I don't know.
I made fun of Stugotz yesterday because he pretended that something from the Olympics stirred him so much that he cared about sports and things again. And what I've been frustrated about the last 2 weeks with Stugotz is he wanted to talk about this Jordan Chiles controversy, so he did 3 minutes of research. He said her name wrong, and then while everyone's talking about it, he whispers in my ear the song "Watching the Games" because he's watched them poorly, and he's got just very tangential information on everything that's happening here. And it's a little bit difficult to do a show this way with somebody like this when he knows about this much about things, and when he researches them, he sings me a song that interrupts what I'm saying.
Watching the games.
I appreciate it. He's trying, man.
What Jeremy is doing.
It's August.
What Jeremy is doing. Yes, it's August, but everybody really enjoyed the Olympics. Everybody was. I can't believe it. I don't blame you for being surprised by it. It's not something that has happened very recently in our lives. It's been a generation since people seem to care about the Olympics the way they cared about these. Stugotz, I did not imagine a scenario where America would gather around the television to watch sports because they need some sort of blessed relief of action and escapism all day. In this respect, Stugotz, for wherever it is that people have assigned bitterness to me because ESPN made a choice. ESPN made a very smart business choice to get all the politics out of there. And it wasn't politics. It was just journalists who were talking about race and serious socioeconomic things, but it wasn't politics, and they just ran everybody off. It's a good business decision to just, hey, America. In fact, their focus group show them this. Man, the number of times I heard at the end there that, no, man, they just want SEC football. Get out of here with all the other stuff. NBC and Peacock just gave that to you for 2 weeks shortly after a presidential assassination attempt. And people are like, just give me sugar. Just give me cotton candy. Just let me escape over here for 2 weeks in the middle of summer while not a lot of other major stakes stuff is happening in sports. And give me steaks every day. All day, give it to me for 2 weeks. People went back to sports and genuflected before the blessed relief of, can you please just take me away from my real life for 2 weeks? Because things kind of suck everywhere.
People try to ruin it, too. They really tried. They really tried by mixing up deities and genders. They really tried to ruin this one, but none of it mattered. Nobody stopped watching. Fewer people congratulated Simone Biles. That's really like the only thing that ended up happening, but not fewer people watching. It was actually wonderful, and it gave me hope.
I want to go back to a time. Many of you will not know the name Eddie the Eagle from the Olympics, but it was colossal, epic failure in skiing in the Winter Olympics. And he became a name that resonated more than most from that time 2 generations ago.
Ski jumping. Big difference.
That's correct.
Yes,
Forgive me. Ski jumping.
Watching the games.
Yes, excellent. He was. Last time he watched him was about when Eddie the Eagle was ski jumping. Yes.
Is that the Muppet?
Is that the Muppet?
No, it's Sam the Eagle. That looks like Anderson Cooper. That's Sam the Eagle.
Yeah.
Regardless, he was an epic failure. And Raygun, I'm wondering if from these Olympics, Raygun, the breaker, who lost 54-0 because she was a generation removed from when from the best athletes in breaking, the young athletes in breaking, and a lot of people thought she made a fool of herself, dancing poorly, doing a T-Rex, doing what I said yesterday was a 5-year-old, what they would do when they say, "Watch this, Daddy," just flopping around on the ground. Are we going to make a movie out of her because she's going to resonate more in 20 years than the other Olympians? Because we love success, but epic failure is also something that we love to laugh at.
Oh, she's 5 minutes away from an NFT, no doubt.
What I love is there's presently a conspiracy theory floating around about Raygun and the entire breaking competition at the Olympics, saying that, which is true, the group that
You out of breath?
Yeah, I've been dancing a lot.
From kangaroo
I'm exhausted.
dancing?
Yes.
Well, he's been
I've been breakdancing for 20 minutes.
He's been doing Raygun for 20 minutes. Yeah.
No, I'm just
You sound
really
like
exhausted.
Taylor around a microphone.
But the committee that decided to put breaking in the Olympics is actually a committee that organizes more ballroom dancing competitions. And apparently, originally the IOC was considering potentially putting ballroom dancing as the competition in the Olympics. And so there are conspiracy theories now that Raygun was sent by Australia to purposefully sabotage the breaking competition by going viral for being bad because Australia is more known for ballroom dancing than breakdancing. So they sent someone to make the competition look like a joke so that breaking will never be back in the Olympics and ballroom dancing can take over. That's the popular conspiracy
It was already
right now.
decided that it was going to be one and done before the Raygun
But they might
phenomenon.
lobby to bring it back.
Why? This thing was terrible. I know we mentioned this briefly yesterday, but Breakin' really under-delivered on everyone's hopes and expectations. We thought it would go viral, but it went viral for the wrong reasons. It went
that's
viral
the point.
for
is
Raygun.
There were really good competitors as well. Like the best of the best were amazing in that competition.
I mean, I thought it was pretty whack. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. The music was really bad, and I think you need good music to go with good dancing. It just, none of it popped. It kind of, in theory, I like the idea. I'm all for like an Olympic Games of games that aren't conventional. Well, throw cornhole in there. That's all fun. This wasn't fun. It was kind of, you would flip to it and you would be bored really quickly because you need good music for this stuff to work. That's why if Breakin' and Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo had bad, like, royalty-free music, like, it would not be the sensation it became. Everyone knows the names Turbo and Ozone, right, Jess?
Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo is not something I expected to hear today. Thank you for bringing it to us.
Was it Turbo or Ozone that did the thing with the broom? Because that was dope.
Turbo.
What about Skibidi Toilet? Did you expect to hear that today?
On Skibidi.
If you freeze it, you can see the string on the broom, which kind of ruins the magic.
Greg Cote, I feel like you've got opinions here. There are things that you want to say.
Well, I brought up Fat Man Pole Vault a couple of weeks ago, and everyone laughed at me. You need more weird things in the Olympics. You need silly events, produce aisle shot put, for example, like on the Greg Cote Show.
Great idea.
You got to have ridiculous events. You got to have obese people. You got to have things that are unusual. Enough with good athletes. Come on.
Greg Cote's only interest in that first segment was getting a plug out on his podcast and the Produce Aisle Shot Put Olympic event that he and his son did. That, by the way, I want you guys, when I say that Greg Cote is against learning, okay, I was not trying to get him with a hard network out there. I gave him the show with 30 seconds left.
Yep.
And he was so proud of himself for noticing that he stopped thinking about how he was going to end the segment with something funny or good. He was just going to be proud after all these years that he walked us right up to the ending without thinking, oh, the point here is to be clever at the end and give people the punctuation. Instead, all he did was, instead of dismounting, come on, because he knew exactly where the clock was. But that time, I wasn't trying to trick him. If I was trying to trick him, I would have done it with 8 seconds left or 5 seconds left, not 30 seconds left.
Easy to say after the fact.
But this is the
Explaining
thing.
the show, Dan. Like, is this? Should you be saying all
That's
of
like
this
the
to
biggest
the
penalty
audience?
that I've seen thus far.
All right.
5 minutes for
Really?
living comedy.
We've got a penalty, 5 minutes. Major asshole.
Fair, I didn't trigger that. He did.
Did he just call himself a major? He
did,
just
which
gave
is
himself a
a-
penalty for
it was
being a major.
I think it's a little harsh.
It's a little harsh. Not inaccurate, but harsh.
What is going on with your Olympic Games with Christopher?
You know what? We're coming down to the wire. We've had 8 events. He's won 5. I've won 3.
Right.
And we've got 2 events next week. If I win them both, there will be a 1-event Olympic off.
Wow.
To see who wins the father-son Olympics. So I'm coming on big. I'm rallying, and we're going to be there. It's
The last episode was the shot put of produce items because because my dad is older than I am. We handicapped it by giving me a bigger item.
You got a watermelon?
So I got a watermelon and
Right.
he has a cantaloupe.
Right.
So tune in this week to see who can shot put.
You have to shot put a watermelon?
Yeah.
Are you going to do the full spin with like the footwork and everything?
You know, you're gonna have to find out. I think we just tweeted out the video though, if you want to watch
You
it.
can't shot put a watermelon. You can't do it.
Well,
I did it.
you can.
Huh.
And the rule was you can't throw it. You know, you can't
Right.
granny
Like a
That's why it
football.
was called
Right.
shot put.
It's not a javelin throw.
You have to push it, heave it like a javelin.
We're familiar with
motion.
it. Yeah, we're familiar with
The
how you shot put.
javelin in the track and field events at the Olympics, by the way, I think this was the first time I've ever watched it because everything was on Peacock and you could just watch the track and field feed. They usually don't show that in prime time. So I was watching these Olympic javelin throwers for the first time. Did you guys see how they would like heave it before they got to the line and then fall forward onto their hands? Like they threw it so hard that they would like fall onto all fours. It was crazy.
Because they're not allowed to go past the line.
Yeah,
kinda
you
thing?
can't go past the line. So like some of them would like go up to the line and then like chuck it.
You
And then
can
some of
land
them-
past the line, right?
No, that's
You
the
can't?
thing.
Can't
Oh,
cross
really?
it. Can't
So if
cross
you
the
want
line
to
at
put your
all.
whole body into it, you have to release it from further away so you can give your space
like-
to land before the line.
like flying forward, then they'd land on their hands, and like the javelin would go psh, like all the way down a football field.
You know what shocked me
distance.
about the Anfield events? That if it's raining, they don't really suspend them.
No.
It's just another obstacle for these athletes to overcome,
Right.
which honestly seems really dangerous
Yeah,
because
they
like the hammer throw in particular, it's a very slick surface, and you add water to it. Like people
Right.
can get seriously hurt doing this.
They're
stuff.
handling weapons out there.
Yes.
I mean, seriously.
What a weird
Weapons.
event. Why are we throwing hammers?
Hammer throw and discus are probably the two scariest
Your
things
son
to
threw a
judge.
watermelon.
Well, but
Where do the judges stand?
Well, so they have the net, so I assume that if it's off to the side, it just goes into the net and it won't actually hit someone. But yeah, they're all the way out in the field. I also
What are they judging really? Because it's just like it's on tape measure guy really.
well, they don't. I think it's electronic now for like long jump and triple jump is all done with like VAR.
Yeah.
I don't know discus and hammer throw and shot put, but Billy and I were talking about this last week. So the pole vaulters have to bring their own poles to the Olympics and to meets and stuff like that, and they're like insanely long and heavy, and some airlines don't let you fly with your pole. So you have to book certain airlines, and it's becoming like more and more expensive to pole vault now because you can't get your pole. Some people stash their poles like in Europe for all the European meets because they can't bring their poles overseas.
why aren't there collapsible poles like pool cues?
Probably because you don't want it to collapse like while you're pole vaulting. I
but it
would
wouldn't.
guess it's
You
like
lock
an
it in,
integrity
right.
thing.
Yeah, you screw it
Yeah.
like a pool
Dude,
cue.
Yeah.
when
I don't
someone
know.
shows up to the pool hall with one of those, get out of the way.
Yeah,
You're
seriously.
toast.
Are you?
You're toast.
Really?
If someone
Yeah.
assembles a pool cue in front of you, like,
Yeah.
I don't know what we just agreed to, I'm out of here.
also,
a shark.
nerd alert.
I'm not certain it's a shark. I mean, doesn't mean it doesn't guarantee you're good at pool because you bring your own cue.
It does. It does.
No, it doesn't guarantee. When you go to the bowling alley and you bring your own ball, it doesn't guarantee you're good at bowling.
But in pool, it does.
It's a bluff.
We put it on the poll. If you go to a pool hall and you assemble a cue right before your opponent, that person is going to win.
Okay.
The person that is assembling the cue wins every time.
I also want to put on
wins
the poll.
before the game starts.
Yes. Well, much of the game is mental.
Who looks more like a tool? Guy rolling in his bowling ball or a guy walking in with his briefcase with his pool stick?
Well, I can't make eye contact with the dude that's assembling the pool cue because he's already won the mental battle with me.
By the
You
way,
just hand them your money.
by the way, if you're walking into a bowling alley on league night with more than 2 bowling balls, get out of my alley. Get out of my league.
I have 3.
It is ridiculous.
I have a spare ball, and then I got my strike ball and my backup strike.
No,
ball.
that's one ball too many.
Greg, do you use that little fan?
Actually,
ever?
does.
A lot of people do that.
So,
a lot
like-
of people at bowling, they have a little like Roby fan right at the table, and it's blowing on them the entire time.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, but there's like that little fan that comes out through that conveyor belt.
You're talking about like
Yeah,
I
do
love
people,
that. Yeah, I always put
do
my
people
hands
do that
there.
to? Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I
I
love
watched
that.
somebody
Yeah.
try their hands there one
Right.
time, and I'm like, that's what the pros do.
It's a
It's like,
power
it's like
move.
when tennis players blow on their fingers right before they serve.
Yes.
They're like,
It's a power move to put your hand over that
Why are
thing, even
your
if it
hands
doesn't do
sweating?
anything.
Bowling is not that exerting. I bowl.
says the guy who's not that good at bowling.
Wait,
pretty
Chris,
good.
you bring 3 balls
good.
to the alley?
I have a whole thing. I have a roller bag.
It's obnoxious.
I mean, what do you want? What do you want
I
from me?
bring 1 ball, then I use a house ball for my 10-pin spares.
Nice. If you guys tie, what's the deciding event? Have you figured that out?
We haven't yet. I've already come up with one event for next week. It's got to be vetted, but my event suggestion might be pool noodle javelin.
What?
Pool noodle javelin.
That seems very difficult. So many
This is
outside
the real
variables.
deal, man. Anybody can throw a shot put. Who can throw a cantaloupe?
You got to be careful. If you have your pool noodles lying around for a long time, snakes hide in those things.
Yep.
The more you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
If I were a
That's right,
snake, that's
yeah.
where I'd chill out.
It's
Are
like
you
a
kidding?
home. Yeah.
Inside the noodle hole?
Happens all the time in
It does.
Florida.
Yeah, I've read that actually.
Nice and snug.
And also, rats will eat a pool noodle. Yeah, I
place is
discovered that a
terrible.
couple of years ago. Rats will eat anything. They'll eat paper, cardboard, stuff like that. Probably, and rats would eat a cantaloupe, just like squirrels would eat mangoes.
Let's show Greg Cote throwing a cantaloupe on the side of his home.
This is a shot put.
Shot
This
put,
is
yeah.
the shot put. Yes, excuse me. I'm sorry to call it throwing because he's lined up like a pitcher there. And
There's no throwing.
and if you, yes, of course. So here is the video of Greg Cote doing the shot put, or perhaps it doesn't work, and we'll go to it another time.
Not right now.
Here it is.
Are you feeling confident?
I'm feeling confident-ish.
Hold on, let me get the video audience here. All right, so he's got to meet. The flag on the left is what
The
he's trying to
FPL
beat.
flags in the
About 9 yards away.
Gardner
your
flag.
marker.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that was a throw. That wasn't a shot
That was
put.
a throw.
I
that
went
was
like
a
that.
throw.
I went
That's
like
He
this.
did it.
You did. You beat him, but that wasn't a shot put.
I went like this.
No, that's a throw.
No,
That's
it was not a
extension.
throw.
Yeah.
That's why they have judges.
You are just like the Herculean people who do it in the Olympics.
Thank you.
You did throw it further than Chris did, though.
Damn right I
He
did.
pushed out a cantaloupe. Honorary mother.
Well, since we're spoiling it, we can now spoil everything. The watermelon that I threw exploded because my dad was like, we should do this 3 throws each. My first throw completely exploded my watermelon because, of course, I threw it
Who
20
could have
feet
seen
in the
that
air.
coming?
And in the video right before,
Gallagher.
I said, Dad, this is stupid. It's going to explode. He's like, no, best of 3 throws each.
And
it was-
here's the hidden prize. It turned out the watermelon turned out to have yellow meat in it, or flesh they call it. It was a yellow flesh watermelon. I didn't even know that existed. I thought all watermelons were red. Bring
you know-
back seeds in watermelons.
Did
by
you
the
know
way.
that there's
We
a
don't like
NASCAR
seedless
driver?
melons. What?
There's a NASCAR driver that's nicknamed the Watermelon Man
I did not know that.
because his
Really?
whole Ryan Blaney is like his whole thing is like when I win a race, I throw a watermelon, and that's why I'm called the Watermelon Man.
Oh, I like it. That's why I first fell in love with David Letterman. I was watching one of his shows for the first time, and he's up on a 6-story rooftop throwing watermelons on the sidewalk. I thought that was just brilliant.
I think I confused Ryan Blaney with Ross Chastain. Before all you gearheads get at me,
You're having a day, man. Yeah.
Put it on the poll, please. Go put the gearhead on in
car.
penalty. Put it on your head as a penalty because it seems heavy and unpleasant. You should know more about
Sorry, I
racing
didn't mean
than
to
you
confuse
do.
it with the Menards 12.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Did you know there was such a thing as a yellow flesh watermelon? Did you know that rats eat pool noodles? And have you ever found a snake in your pool noodle?
The yellow watermelon happens to be fairly common. Now, I will tell you this, and delicious,
Really?
according to reports here. If I get a watermelon, open it up, and it's yellow inside, not eating.
I hear you.
No, not
that
having
was my
it.
first
Right.
reaction was
Yep.
to be repulsed. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
To think it had rotted or something? Or
To think, what the hell is this? Because I thought I'm buying a watermelon. I thought they were only red.
The yellow is generally sweeter and has a honey-like taste to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is, this is a misnomer. Bulls don't see red, including fighting bulls looking at a red cape. Because of an eye condition bulls have, they see red as a grayish yellow. So my first thought was, the watermelon explodes, and I'm like, what am I, a bull? I'm seeing a red watermelon, but I'm seeing yellow. I thought my eyesight had gone.
Bullseye.
Exactly.
I think just yesterday, or no, maybe it was last week on the show, we did say that bulls do indeed see red, and that's why it works for matadors. But what you're telling us is they see it as a different color. They don't see it as actual red.
Yeah.
That it's different than all the other colors, but they charge that because their eyesight is largely colorless.
Yes. For the color red, anyway, that's all I know about bull eyesight is that they're not seeing a red flag the way we would see a red cape.
But it's different. They are being distracted by the cape. It's
Yes.
not. What I'm asking you is, I guess, that it's not a red cape, but they're seeing it as a different color that attracts them.
Yes, apparently.
They're seeing it as yellowish gray, but apparently it's just the waving motion of the cape that bothers them. So theoretically,
It could be any color?
Yeah.
I'm very confused by that.
All right,
I'm going to
well,
do more research.
All right,
now.
please do, because in the last 7 days we've given completely contradictory information. We said as a fact that bulls do indeed see red, and now you're saying it's impossible for them to see red. That is not good information. That is just straight misinformation
My
from our show
information was
on
good.
one of the sides.
We also did it last segment as well, where we said Tom Brokaw is from the Great Generation. He is not. He is a product of the Silent Generation.
Another important
He's
correction.
not very quiet, though, is he?
Well, let me ask you this question, Stugotz. I need a ruling around here. Jessica's getting rich off of fines. But I can imagine that because I said Tom Brokaw was past tense and put a question mark on it, that's a $50 fine. I asked it with a question
is,
mark.
yeah.
I asked it with a question mark, but I asked it because I thought he was dead. So I'm going to need some sort of ruling here. I would assume that the audience is coming down on me saying that that's a $50 fine. We haven't had one of those in a while.
He's 84. He's still alive. When you do that with a question, Dan, it's $40. Okay?
Oh, really?
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, I was going to say I'm willing to call it even because on my first day, I accused Andrew Lloyd Webber of being dead, which was really just foolish on my part because I knew he was alive. I was just very nervous. So we can just call it even. You keep your 50, I'll keep my 50.
It was on your first day? We didn't fine you on your first day?
No, you did, but it was all on Zoom, so no one was in the studio.
Most people think Weber's dead. He's got one of those colonial names. You know, anytime you have 3 words in your name,
You're right.
You know,
Yes.
it makes you sound
I assume
like
you're dead, yes.
an old-timey kind of
Is he
person.
dead now?
No, he's super alive.
Yeah, he's super
like
alive.
still making Broadway shows.
But he has a dead name.
Am I fined now $50 for asking?
It's 40.
Is he
Yes,
dead now?
that's
No,
40.
40. I said that.
Okay.
That's a fine for not getting the fines.
Not
I
even
mean,
anymore.
Well, we're changing the rules. as we
You owe
go along.
$140 now.
No, that's not.
If I were your attorney, Dan, I would argue on your behalf. I would find somebody on the face of the earth who's dead with the name Tom Brokaw, because you know there's somebody named Tom Brokaw who unfortunately passed away years ago, probably in Maine or New Hampshire.
Right.
You know, and
Definitely.
and find that person, quote his wife, saying my beloved Tom Brokaw passed away in 1968. You're off the hook because on a technicality you were right. somewhere Tom Brokaw is dead.
I did. I did just Google Tom Brokaw obituary. There are a few results.
Thank you. Thank me. I should get that $40.
So Carl Anthony Towns has a dead name?
No, because it's Carl with a K.
Okay.
You know, I mean, that's a modern Carl. You know.
I love this.
Right?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I mean,
You're
Carls
making the
with a
rules up.
C
So
are old-timey Carls. Carls with a K, they're happening. They're breakdancing.
Right,
You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're right about
Yeah,
that.
Carl
Yes.
with a K is spinning on his head.
Totally different Carl.
just
Right.
okay. They're happening. They're breakdancing.
Yes.
That's okay. That's how we're doing that one.
Right.
I mean,
Because it's with a K.
yeah.
I don't understand how you're making the rules here. Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Right. Sounds like an old name. You know, not medieval old, but like colonial old.
But it's the Lloyd, right? Because if I said to you Andrew Webber, you wouldn't think it's old or colonial.
No, Andrew tends to be an old name. Andy is Andrew's son, you know, who doesn't go by Junior. But Andrew Lloyd
With a
Webber,
second,
I
right.
can see why Jess thought that was a dead celebrity.
Yeah, it's also the Britishness of it.
Yeah.
Makes it seem older,
That's
more
true.
esteemed.
Yeah, good point.
Thank you.
Guys, can you please get for me, the talkback's not working, can you get for me the American Ninja Warrior video, please? Because Greg Cote has said something, and this might be generational as well. I don't know what's happening here. I'm legitimately surprised, and I don't know the entirety of his opinion on this. He simply said today that American Ninja Warrior is sad.
Yeah.
He described it as sad, which is not something I've ever heard it described at. It seems to me like perfect sports television. It's just easy, mindless. You can watch for 24 minutes and you can root for people, and it's just super simple, smart television.
Yeah, emphasis on the mindless. What a juxtaposition of NBC going from showing the immensely high-rated, gorgeous grandeur of the Paris Olympics to last night. I'm still on NBC because of the Olympics. I turn on my TV, and it's this kind of crap happening. You know, back in the day, it was called an obstacle course. You know, we'd do that thing with the, you know, the monkey bar, and, you know, we'd do that, and it was in phys ed in school. Now, they're just televising it and putting a pool underneath it, so when you fall from the monkey bar, all of a sudden you're splashing in a pool, and there's cameras and lights. It's ridiculous. And these people, you know, I'm not saying they're not athletic, but they're doing such ridiculous events. You know, they're all trying to get famous. Look at me, Louis, and Billy Gill. I hate to say it, but he's an example, feeding into this whole Ninja Warrior mystique. These are not athletes, okay? What they're doing is not particularly difficult.
You've got to be
They're all young. They've trained for it, but it's nonsensical what they're doing.
You have to be kidding me. You don't think American Ninja Warriors are athletes? Like, how can you say that with a straight face? I'm
watching somebody jump in a pool right now.
You could not do one.
That's a mean.
That was Amin Elhassan, and you could not do one thing. You would be incapable of doing one obstacle.
You guys are a part of this whole scam. That's why you're defending it. Okay, I had forgotten that the Le Batard Show was in cahoots with America Ninja Warrior.
You tell them.
Before I started criticizing it. It's like once or twice I've done back in my day, making fun of a sponsor of the show. I don't mean to do it, but just sometimes it happens. In this case, I just think it's ridiculous that what we're watching right now, no offense, Mike, is a televised sport. It's absolutely
This is an unfair edit because it picks it up at step 3.
Mike is holding
it's all
on.
ass crack. It's Mike desperately holding on.
Watch this.
Oh, yeah,
I should also say I'm the only one of us that
that man that
Roy
did
went
that
through
like
that course
Yeah.
specifically, which was very difficult. Look at this. This one's a piece of cake, the one that Roy's doing right there. I got screwed on the course.
Greg Cote.
This is televised.
I just can't believe, though, that you would say that they're not athletes. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Are American Ninja Warriors athletes? Because, of course, they are. That is damn near impossible to do. In fact, I'd say I'd put a lot of football players and ask them to try and do some of that stuff, and basketball players, and they wouldn't be able to do any of it.
I think if they had one practice.
You're out of your mind.
They'd be able to do it. I'm with Greg
You're
on
not
that.
familiar
Yeah.
with American
Right.
Ninja Warrior? They often have athletes participate in this. And
You
they
think
don't
Tyreek
always
Hill's
fare
going to
well.
struggle with that?
Yes. Yes.
No, Dan.
Right. Yes. You don't know what you're talking about.
Cheetah probably could do it.
Cheetah,
He would
right.
do way better than we did. Like,
Yeah.
he
Yes,
would,
of course he would do
Greatest
better. Wait a
athlete in
minute.
the
That's the
NFL.
standard?
No, I'm just saying
not the
he
bar.
would get to like. I'm not saying he'd finish the course, but he would move along this course.
I disagree. Like, I couldn't disagree more with what you guys are saying here. These things are difficult, and you have to practice them. You think Tyreek Hill can just show up at American Ninja Warrior and finish the 10 obstacles? Are you nuts?
I trust his ability to do it rather than ours.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It was very clear we didn't get any practice runs. I
a
would have
glorified
appreciated maybe
obstacle.
one.
Greg is right about the obstacle course, though. I mean, you have to like climb through some tires, do
Yeah.
it quickly. You jump over a little swamp.
Like
I
a
mean,
Tough
that's
Mudder.
how you do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the
Right.
gymnasts have done well that they've had on American Ninja Warrior because that is a very like multi-disciplined sport, whereas like Tyreek Hill's just very speedy and can change direction quickly. The gymnasts, like they've got the core strength. You need the core strength.
That is a key component. What is your core discipline? I'm a Kempo black belt. Didn't help me.
Gymnasts, I would say, would fare better, but this is in keeping. I understand why Tyreek Hill, would think he's the best player in football, and I understand why Tyreek Hill would say just yesterday to Kate Adams, "I'd beat Noah Lyles in a race." No, you would not. You would not beat Noah Lyles.
Does he have
Lyles
COVID
in
or?
a-
Yeah, that's a
You would
point.
you would neither beat the healthy or the COVID Noah Lyles
Yeah.
in a race.
Yeah, Hill's got short legs. That's what people don't realize.
But that helps. Lower center of gravity. That's why Barry Sanders was so hard to tackle.
Yep.
That and all-world athletic ability.
That helps to not get tackled and also being made of bowling ball material. But I would say that what you see happening in that league right now, it's one of the reasons that Tyreek Hill stands out because his body can withstand the punishment is the receivers that are the best receivers are the ones that you see eat up 5 yards in a stride and a half. And you're like, oh, my God. Like, how does anything keep up with that? Because it's Usain Bolt. It's longer strides. It's Justin Jefferson. Like, you can't keep up with that because the strides are so long that they're eating up giant chunks of yardage in bursts of long legs or just a kind of speed that makes like this is one of the things that they're paying in that sport now is CeeDee Lamb runs how? DK Metcalf runs how? Like, what do you mean that they can eat up that kind of yardage and a cornerback can't keep up with shorter legs?
Have you ever done a segment and wondered aloud, how did we get here? Dan's the only person speaking on behalf of athleticism right now. He's like vouching for long strides. And why are we all attacking him? Oh, wait, because he said Tyreek Hill wouldn't do well in American. I do disagree with that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he'd be good.
I just think I
Great.
don't. I just think finger strength. Like you.
I think he's got that.
Okay, but maybe
He looks like he's got them all.
Yeah.
maybe you're great at being able to do quickly. Like you're saying, finish it. I don't think he even finishes it. Honestly,
Oh,
I don't
come
think.
on.
I don't think most athletes can finish that course. I think you have to train for it.
I hope you go to Dolphins camp and you tell him this.
Yeah.
How tall is Tyreek Hill? Is he
He's like
5'9"?
5'9".
5'10"? Because
Yeah,
I don't
they
think Noah
call-
Lyles is much taller. I think they might be around the same height.
He was voted by his peers as the best football player in the league right now.
Right.
I trust him.
Well, if we're doing the height thing.
I miss the possession receiver. I mean, I miss the days of Phil McConkey. Wayne Corbett, Wes Welker. I do.
Yeah.
I mean, there aren't many. I don't think there's any in the NFL right now.
No, I mean Braxton Berrios. You have.
He's like a third wide receiver / punt returner, kick returner, utility guy. You know, he's not a true possession wide receiver.
I know the game we're playing here.
What do you
River
miss?
Craycraft.
Yes. Amendola. What are you missing there,
Danny
Stugotz?
Amendola.
What are you, Welker? What are you missing?
I'm
there,
just looking at the
Stugotz?
top receivers in the NFL. I mean, they used to be. Listen,
Edelman. What are you missing?
you
What
had
is
your
it that
Randy
you're missing?
Mosses. What do you
Austin
mean? What am I
Collie.
missing? I mean,
What are you missing?
I want a receiver who averages 8.1 yards a catch.
Yeah.
That's a possession receiver.
I remember when Ninja Warrior was in Miami, they did stuff at FIU one time, and Cameron Wimbley ran the course. I did not know how he fared, so I just YouTubed it. He cleared it. That's Cameron Wimbley, pass rusher. Yeah, Tyreek Hill does this.
Right.
He clears it.
Yeah, he would nail it.
to answer your question, Dan, I missed the white wide receiver.
At least we got it out there.
I said it.
Finally,
I mean,
finally.
Steve Largent,
Finally, we said it.
miss him.
Cooper Kupp was too good to be a possession receiver.
Way too good.
Yeah.
Yep, way too
He
good.
dropped off the face of the earth. didn't he?
Thielen, he's possession.
He just got hurt. No, Thielen's not. I wouldn't call him a possession receiver.
He's certainly more possession than Cooper Kupp.
Well, he's
How
just
much
because he
touchdowns
plays in
like anybody.
Carolina. He wasn't that when he was in Minnesota.
Anyway, to get back to the Ninja Warrior, if these guys are such good athletes,
This is the
Throw
new
your
and
athlete-
improved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
I'm seeing some highlights up here of Mookie Betts hitting a home run during the Dodgers-Brewers game, and I read something yesterday about Mookie Betts refuses to stay at that Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee that is haunted. He stays apart from his teammates and everyone else. Stan Van Gundy told us the story how everybody would bleep with Patrick Ewing in that hotel. All the teammates and stuff would come knock on the door and then run away because Ewing was legitimately scared of the ghosts. Mookie Betts will not stay at the Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee. He gets an Airbnb nearby, and all of his Dodgers teammates are staying there. That is funny, except if you're Mookie Betts.
or Spooky Bets. I'm just saying. That should be his name. That kind of thing.
Vigorous
Drink
swig
the water.
coming. He undoes.
Vigorous.
He undoes it. Well, I see that you've undone the top of that. You got in with 2 words. You're pleased with yourself. Here, toast
You
yourself.
deserve a swig.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Usually I sip coffee because it's very hot.
Right.
This time I'm going to swig on your behalf.
Stugotz, credit to you. It was indeed Turbo that did the breakdance routine with the broom. That was very impressive off the top of your dome. Also,
Coin
I
toss.
just watched that during the break, and the rare duo, Turbo and Ozone, were the very clear leader. His name goes second in the duo's name. Is there another example of that?
Montana and Rice.
I was going to think like maybe Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer.
The where the star is the second name in a duo.
Star is different. Leader.
Leader. Yes.
Leader usually goes first because they lead. Like you can cite an example where Sonny and Cher were a very famous duo. Cher was the star, but Sonny was a very clear leader.
The fact that you're mentioning Sonny and Cher made me think of something that my father said this weekend out of nowhere. He was asking me a lot of questions. You talk about the silent generation. You talk about Tom Brokaw's age. For some reason, my father wanted to talk about Sonny and Cher all weekend. And he's fascinated by the way Sonny died because he's like, did you know how Sonny died? And I'm like, yeah, he had a skiing accident and he ran into a tree. And my father's like, that'll happen. That'll never happen to me. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably true. You will probably not die in a skiing accident because you're not going to be someone who skis. But then the next thing he says to me is, do you know what Sonny Bono's last words were? And I'm like, what? And he's like, who put that tree there?
Too soon, number one, Poppy. And number two, was he just setting you up for his own routine?
My father does not usually
talk to you about Sonny and Cher for 15 minutes to give you that terrible joke.
He was laughing through the joke before he said it, and I'm just looking at him like he was just delighted in the fact that someone had died in a way he never would because he's not a skier. That's what happened with my father this weekend. What just happened during the break with Stugotz, though, is as soon as I go to my wallet and pull out money for fines, he starts smelling the money. And so he asked me for money during the break saying, let's get Will Levis for God Bless Football. He's like, I want to start paying I want to start paying Will Levis to be somebody. Are you going to have him replace Austin Eckler?
Well, no, I'd like to have Eckler as well, but Will Levis is someone who joined me and Billy at Radio Row during Super Bowl week last year, and he was fantastic. Does not take himself very seriously. Now, we have no idea if he's good. We have no idea if he's the long-term starter in Tennessee, but I do like his personality, and if he turns out to be a starting quarterback and a good starting quarterback, then we're on to something here with God Bless Football. And so Will Levis is a guy that I just happen to like, and he has shot a ridiculous new commercial.
I have not seen the quarterbacks do this with a sense of humor. And honest to God, it sort of reminds me of Dave Grohl having fun with music videos and saying music videos don't have to all be artistic. They can also be funny. Will Levis is doing a commercial for Hellman's here, and it's Hellman's as a perfume. like obviously disgusting, but he's turning the corporate sponsor into his sense of humor and saying, okay, I'll do a commercial for you as the NFL quarterback for Hellman's mayonnaise, but I'm going to do it sexy. I'm going to do this goop, this terrible goop that is also
Relax.
well, it's delicious.
Goop.
It's delicious goop, but it's not sexy. Cologne de mayonnaise is not something anyone is buying, but Will Levis is doing a commercial for the scent of mayo. Who wants to smell like mayo? That's what I usually smell like. It's not a scent people find sexy. Let's watch this.
They try to define you, but you are the ingredient to your own success. Luscious, eggy, smell like greatness. Will Levis, number 8, Parfum de mayonnaise.
Great.
Not a lot of quarterbacks have made that commercial.
Bacon and eggs.
Got it right?
Eggs are the leader.
Eggs are the leader.
No.
Are they?
No.
But bacon's a star.
Eggs are the leader. Yeah. We're not saying the star. Mike is right. Bacon is the star.
Bacon is
Eggs are the
unquestionably
leader.
the star.
I won't have eggs without bacon. I will have bacon without eggs. I mean, I don't know who
But then
leads
it's not
who,
breakfast.
but well, it is for me.
Bacon's the alpha dog.
It's
Yeah.
almost like it's tough to do this with items that don't speak.
Why are you doing this, Jess, where you're saying eggs are the leader of bacon and eggs?
Because they are.
I don't. Okay, put it on the poll, please. Guillermo,
What
or
comes
Choo-Choo.
first, the bacon or the egg?
At Le Batard Show, who's the leader in bacon and eggs? Bacon or eggs?
Scooby-Doo and Shaggy.
It's called bacon and eggs.
And to bring it full circle,
Right.
the actor that played
Yes.
Ozone, Shabba-Doo.
When I order a bacon, egg, and cheese, I lead with the bacon. I never lead with the egg. It's never an egg, bacon, and cheese.
That's
It's ridiculous.
That's a completely
Right.
different
if
conversation.
you're
We're not
getting
talking
a
about bacon, egg, and
BLT,
cheese.
you want more bacon. You don't want more lettuce.
Right.
You-
Yes.
Give me an extra tomato.
You're
here,
naming
will you?
different
No.
things now. We're not talking
What
about
do we-
BLT.
why
That's
lettuce?
mayo.
It's
That's
a
mayo.
BLT.
Yes,
A
yeah.
BLT doesn't have egg in it.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
I would have a BLT with a little egg in it.
That's a belt.
A little fried egg on top.
Belt. I like it. Give
It's
me
a belt. It's a belt that can't be tightened.
Belt me.
What are you doing there with the lettuce? Did you confuse the lettuce and the eggs?
No. I was thinking of another example where the bacon is king. The bacon is almost always king. It's something that people love. Uncle Dick eats a whole pound of bacon at one sitting.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Delightful.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Have you ever eaten a pound of bacon in one sitting? Yes or no?
I've been really into BLTs lately. Probably the most underrated sandwich.
I love a BLT.
Oh, it's great.
Put a
Yeah.
little mayo on your BLT.
Oh, speaking of mayo. Exactly.
It-
A lot of mayo.
Is put it on the poll, Juju. Is BLT the most underrated sandwich? Yes or no?
That or a grilled cheese with bacon and tomato.
Now we're talking.
Delightful. Oh,
It's just a sandwich.
I had to research this one, but Salt and Peppa. I thought Peppa was the leader of this duo, but it turns out Salt founded the famous hip hop duo.
Well, Jessica said Scooby-Doo and Shaggy. I don't. Are they a famous duo? Like, is that because Scooby-Doo's the star there? Is he not? It's not
Yeah.
Shaggy who's the star, but Shaggy's the owner. Or Shaggy, ostensibly, Scooby-Doo is a cartoon dog that has all dog properties, right? He's got to have an owner.
Can a duo live inside a larger group? I guess Casey and JoJo. They were a part of
The
Jodeci.
Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz.
I mean, the name of the show is Scooby-Doo.
He's the star, but who's
not
the
Shaggy.
leader? Right, it's not Shaggy. I think of Scooby-Doo as the star, but Mike is saying he's trying to make a distinction between star and leader. They can be you could do that with our show. You could do that with Highly Questionable. Who's the star and who's the leader? You could do that here.
I mean, Shaggy was mainly the interpreter. Although it wasn't that hard. Scooby-Doo didn't need an interpreter. You could he's saying zoinks.
I don't think he's part of the group without Shaggy, though. Like they need each other.
But people associate? If I threw out to the audience famous duos for all time, that Scooby-Doo and Shaggy are coming in the top 1,000, because I don't think of them as two things that have to go together like peanut butter and jelly.
It is rare to have a duo breakout. Usually, like it's like in sync, where like you have a breakout star. But for another group, essentially, to be born out of a group, now that's random.
With Scooby-Doo, I always looked as Fred. I looked to Fred as the leader. He had the blonde hair. He drove the van all the time.
Yeah. And social construct at the time was like white male with blonde hair. He's the leader.
Well, that's why Sonny went ahead of Cher too. Same time period. That is why Cher was not the star. It should have been Cher and Sonny. Sonny was hanging on for a ride there. Like he was not the talented one in that particular combination.
Chris just mentioned off mic that sometimes it's what sounds better. And that's true. I'm sure a lot of bands have broken up that way too. It's like I understand that you're the founder, but it just sounds better this way.
Right. Tom and Jerry got it right, correct?
Jerry and Tom, I guess, could work if that was what it came out the gates with, but I'm with you. Just Tom and Jerry just feels right.
Well, no, you've got it right on Sonny and Cher, because Cher and Sonny doesn't work at all.
No, neither would Garfunkel and Simon.
Right.
It's just
totally.
Fly.
Yep.
Yeah.
But how much of that is just because it's what you're used to? If we had heard it.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Of course.
Oates and Hall?
Okay.
No thanks.
No, thank you.
No. But it sounds like a lovely cereal.
I don't want a jelly and peanut butter sandwich. That sounds ridiculous. You would mock me if I said that. You'd think I have sandwich dyslexia.
Is peanut butter the leader there?
Yes.
I'm not so sure.
Yes.
That's what Jess said back here.
No,
I'm a big jelly guy.
It's got the stronger flavor profile out of the two.
Yeah.
Crunchy
What kind of
peanut
jelly
butter?
are we talking
if
about?
if I throw any kind of crunchy, if I put any kind of grape jelly on something, it's going to get overwhelmed by the crunchy peanut butter. The crunchy peanut butter dominates that situation. But that's why I don't understand what you're doing with eggs. I think bacon dominates eggs.
Mm-hmm.
But eggs are the leader.
No.
This is really hard when they're not speaking.
Eggs
When it's
are
a
a
non-speaking
bystander.
role,
Speaking to me.
Scooby-Doo doesn't speak. It's the same affliction that he's got
he
there.
does speak. Come on, you.
You just
Right.
That's speaking.
Everyone understands.
Come on, you don't need a dude high as a kite trying to translate. Like, we understand him. He's a talking dog.
We've got Greg Cote in house on a Tuesday here, and he is a Miami Herald legend, one of the longest-standing journalists in the history of the newspaper. And I wanted to get into something Miami-related because I believe, Mike Ryan, that you will be offended by what Greg Cote thinks. I saw an annoying text string between you and Billy Corben that ate up my phone's energy yesterday because Billy Corben is pretending to not actively root against John Ruiz and anything NIL Miami related. So I didn't even read it because it was too long, but I will tell you, Mike Ryan, even though you are now an owner of Canes Insight and a correspondent and you are embedded in the program, Greg Cote does not believe that the University of Miami deserves its number 19 preseason ranking.
Well, that's not entirely true. I think they do. I wrote a column the other day predicting that they're going to be in the ACC championship game and in the playoff, in the college football playoff. I think they're one of the 12 best teams in the country. I think they have a chance to go 11-1. I think 10-2 is very, very doable. I am really high on UM, maybe too much so. The only caveat is that they tend to disappoint. The year before last, I think they were 14 preseason. The year before that, they were 16. We've been here before, right? And they have to win the opener in the Swamp. And the last time I looked, they're a narrow favorite. If they lose that, everything sags. The whole season sags, and it's like, here we go again. But I think Cam Ward is great. I think the running back they got, Martinez, is great. I think they're going to be super good. I'm curious what Mike thinks because I am super high on UM.
Before we get to Mike, man, did you nuke Dan's setup?
Can't think of something more opposite than how Dan set it up.
I think Greg's more bullish on them than I am.
I have this, in fairness to Dan, and I love you, Greg, I'm copied on the same email with your topics, and you're questioning whether number 19 is too high for the Canes.
I said, is Hurricanes number 19 preseason AP ranking too high?
You were just
now
asking
I'm
a question.
answering it.
Okay,
the
good.
answer is no.
You're answering your own question.
There was
Got
a question mark on the end of that.
I apologize.
Okay.
I apologize.
I mean, I'm posing a question. Now I'm providing an answer, and an emphatic answer with an exclamation point on the end of it.
You know what you're doing. My bad.
Yeah, not 3 exclamation points like my wife. All her emails, if she's effusive about something, it's got to have 3 exclamation points. 1 will do. But Yeah, I think the Canes are going to be really, really good.
One exclamation point at the end of that.
You only need one. I hate the three multiple exclamation
I
points.
get it. I get it already.
I like
right,
3.
right.
Got to really just pound your point home.
No.
Do you?
3.
Okay.
What if they're 3, but they're in separate sentences? Like, hey, it's great to hear from you. And then at the end, thanks.
No.
That I will go back and fix. If I put an exclamation point on the first sentence and then I think the second one, I'll go back and change that first sentence to a period. I'm like, you can't have 2 exclamation points.
Yeah, and thanks should never have an exclamation point.
Really?
What?
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
I have to limit myself to 3 exclamation points per email. I don't want to seem too exuberant.
But Greg is right. Thanks on its own is enough.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't want you
Thanks.
yelling at me, thanks.
Yeah.
Without an exclamation, you're saying thanks. With an exclamation, you're saying thanks.
Yeah. It could also be thanks.
I don't want to say thanks. I want to say thanks.
Thank you.
You know, it goes well. Thanks is its own emphasis. Like, you don't need anything at the end of it.
Do you see now why the meeting is important?
No. No, I don't. I was here before you were, by the way.
He was.
You were rolling out of bed there in the suite, and I'm here at 7:45, looking around, saying, "Where's our meeting?"
Yeah.
Yeah, here I'm ready.
He was actually saying, "Where's Dan?" I want to explain to him what I mean by too high, number 19 preseason rankings.
Yeah.
But you weren't here.
But the lesson here is next time somebody poses a question in their show topics, is number 19 too high for the Hurricanes? Doesn't mean they're saying it is. It means it's a talking point. I'm willing to discuss. I think they're going to be really, really good.
Yeah, you mentioned that. You always do with the local teams. I will tell you that one of the
except the Marlins,
the unique spaces that you occupy, and this is really funny and crazy and also true. Greg Cote, the last 2 years, has predicted a Miami Dolphins Super Bowl appearance. They have not won a playoff game. He feels like he's been right the last 2 years. That's hard to do. Because their offense has been good, he feels like his homerism has been rewarded. He has predicted Super Bowl each of the last 2 years. He has been flagrantly wrong. They have not won a single playoff game.
Right.
Still feels like he's right.
Mm-hmm.
to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I called the turnaround. I think they got to solve fizzling at the end of a season. You know, they start off good, and then they take a big giant crap in the last quarter of the season, and which is why the last 2 playoff games have been on the road in tough places to play. You got to get a home playoff game. Can't be playing in Kansas City in January. It's like absolutely ridiculous. I also overestimated the Chiefs. I thought when Tyreek left to come to Miami.
Underestimated the Chiefs?
Yeah, I think Kansas. I thought
Underestimated? You overestimated the Chiefs?
I mean, overestimated. I thought
underestimated.
You underestimated the
You
Chiefs.
thought they were done when Tyreek Hill came to Miami.
Not done, but I thought they were done as this dynasty that's going to win 2 more Super Bowls in a row.
Sure.
Well, if you want to see those Miami Dolphins play in the Super Bowl, you could be a season ticket holder and get the first crack at it. Or what you could do is go to the secondary market.
Wow.
Download the Game Time app. Look, it's hard to come by. These tickets to this huge Gators Miami Hurricanes game, really difficult tickets to come by. Why don't you download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Dan for $20 off your first purchase. And I hope just a small part of our audience is using that promo code, because that would mean they've used Game Time plenty already, like I have. Terms apply. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Again, if you're listening to my voice and you're finally compelled to download Game Time, use that promo code DAN and get $20 off your first purchase.
Occasionally, we have some things that happen and break in the news, and it gets dated very quickly, and Greg Cote is only here once a week, so I have not yet heard his thoughts. Let's see if I can introduce this correctly on FIU getting into a relationship with Pitbull in the naming of the stadium. I'm led to assume that Greg Cote is vigorously against this. He hates the idea. There is no merging between music, pop culture, and blessed football.
He just wrote down Pitbull Stadium with a period, so you're really guessing here.
Not an exclamation point.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, the better way to know what my opinions are, oddly enough, the columns I write do appear online. Like
not the meeting,
able,
right? Not the meeting. Not the meeting. But not the meeting.
7:45. He was there.
I have to subscribe to the Miami Herald.
That's correct.
Okay, just
Yeah,
not the
here's
meeting.
What you do: take out a loan and subscribe to the Miami Herald.
Right, but not the meeting.
Okay.
Not in the meeting before the show.
I think the Pitbull FIU alliance is great for both, especially for FIU. my first impression when I read about this business deal was I couldn't believe FIU wasn't paying Pit Bull. I can't believe Pit Bull is actually giving $1.2 million a year to FAU because Pit Bull, if anything, he is demeaned by this relationship because FIU is associated with losing. For FIU, it's great. Pit Bull Stadium is a great name for a stadium, and it raises the esteem of FIU football. I think it's wonderful for them. I don't see a negative in it, and it's also a declaration by FIU that. And Mike's going to laugh. They're not ready to concede the 305 to the University of Miami. Okay, FIU is a huge public university. In their branding, they're already saying things like "Welcome to the 305." They're calling themselves the 305's University. So they picture their vision is someday we're going to be huge. Now, granted, they need to start winning for any of that to take place.
They're 9-33 or something.
No, they've been terrible lately.
Do you think FIU can be a sleeping giant, though? To your point,
yes.
if they have the right coach in there that galvanizes recruits and builds on that program,
yes.
they're I think. I don't take offense to them, even though they don't have Miami in their name. Although I do think that when I was younger, there was always talk that they might become Miami State University one day because you don't really see any major programs with international in their name. But
Miami's not a state, though. I mean,
no,
I'm just saying it's Florida States. I mean,
I understand, but you can have Memphis. I'm wearing a Memphis poncho right now. They used to be Tennessee State University. They are a state school. You can be a state school and proudly boast a city.
Just weird.
But okay. But I do think that they can lay claim to being more Miami. Certainly with the Pitbull relationship, but they can lay claim to being more Miami than the University of Miami. I think if you look at the student body, the student body doesn't have a lot of locals. I mean, they may push back on that, but the student body at FIU certainly has a ton of locals.
Yeah.
Florida Prepaid. There's just so many. There's so many paths to get to that state school down here. So I think if they make smart decisions, they can certainly be in that mix. And I wouldn't be surprised if 10, 20 years down the line, and look, this is a school that the last time they went on a field against the University of Miami beat them. So I do think that this is a school with a high ceiling. I really do.
And the Pitbull Alliance is visionary, I think. I think it speaks to their high goals vis-a-vis the relationship in the 305 with UM.
Please stop doing that, Chris. I need you to.
It's very distracting.
I need you to stop that. It's annoying. It's bothering me. Please.
Hit it.
He said me.
I was even signaling to him.
You know a joke is obvious when Greg Cote's in on it and he's shouting at his son, go ahead and do it.
Hit it.
No, that's enough.
You're 0 for 2 on Cody setups today.
Seriously, never play it again, though.
Yeah, don't do that anymore. It's annoying. It's obviously annoying. I don't think that Pitbull Stadium is a great name for a stadium.
I think
the Pit.
That's better, and I'm guessing that's what they'll end up doing with it. They've announced that probably, but you said Pitbull Stadium is a great name for a stadium.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it conveys toughness. I mean, not just the celebrity of the musical artist, but the breed of dog is maligned, it's disrespected, it's criticized, it's the underdog, so to speak. Everybody wants to ban pit bulls. I think the Pitbull Stadium name is great. Just like I generally hate corporate names of stadiums. I loathe them. But Hard Rock is a great name for a football stadium, and I think Pitbull is as well.
I do love the tie-in with Florida International University and Mr. Worldwide. There's some great synergy there for FIU being like, yeah, we're the worldwide school of South Florida. We've got Mr. Worldwide representing us, and it's Pitbull.
Who are the people that you would be willing to concede anywhere in entertainment? Yes, that's a person that you need to pay to have their name on your stadium, because Greg is saying that this relationship is incorrect financially, that FIU should not be the lead or the alpha here, that Pitbull should not be paying them, that they should be paying Pitbull. I don't think that's the way that would work with many, but there probably are some, right? There's
Well,
if I made a Taylor Swift stadium, she's not going to have to pay for that, right?
To be technical about it, it's a gift. It's a donation, not unlike other buildings that are named on a university campus. He gives a gift to the university, gets his name on something.
Yeah. No, that's the way it works. And it's significant, though, that his name's on a football stadium, not a science building. You know what I mean? He's out front. Nothing is going to get more attention for both sides.
This is the new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
You guys know what that means. It's time to talk some Olympics. I'm sad. Are you guys sad the Olympics are done?
I am.
I mean,
Devastated.
football's here.
That is true.
That's true.
But the Olympics were great, and Jess has a top 5 Olympic athletes she learned about. And it's brought to you by Liquid IV. If hydrating were an Olympic sport, you'd win the gold. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code DAN at checkout.
This is a sad top 5 to end the Olympics. These were my favorite athletes that I just found out about. So Noah Lyles, Sydney McLaughlin, Lavroni, Anna Cockrell, they don't count. These are just people that I learned about from hours of my eyes glued to my television.
Discovery, wonder, and awe. Some of the best things in sports when
Exactly.
you find new talents. Jeremy, are you going to find Jeremy distracting? He has been he's been dancing all show poorly. Can you do that outside? It's distracting,
Sure,
Jeremy.
Dano.
Can you just
gotcha.
get out?
Thank you.
Yes, it's annoying and distracting. Raygun, the Olympic breaker, I hope she's on your list, or she would qualify
We'll
for
see.
your list, I
certainly
suppose.
did not know who she was before the Olympics. We have one OLI, Gabe Medina, the Brazilian bronze medalist shortboard surfer, went viral in that photo of him above the wave with his surfboard. What a moment in these Olympics.
That seems like it was 7 months ago.
It really does. And so far away in Tahiti. I hope that if they do figure out surfing in LA 28, they're able to do it all locally so the athletes can actually stay in the Olympic Village, which I think is the plan.
Juju, can you put those photos next to each other in a poll that's photographic instead of just words and say Steph Curry's shot against Wemby or that one? Mike said the picture of Wemby and Steph Curry is the best sports photograph taken. I'd argue that the one of the surfer was even better.
Number 5, Yusuf Dikeç, the Turkish world champion sports shooter, 51-year-old. He medaled silver, but no one cared because he won a gold in our hearts at the 10-meter air pistol mixed team event.
The Turkish guy stole that. The
Turkish guy,
the 51-year-old guy with
I
the
also
hand
learned
in his
name
jeans.
today. Number 4, Mondo Duplantis, the Swedish-American pole vaulting champion, world record holder, had a pole vault off with the American who came in silver. We all found out at the same time the Swedish guy was actually born in Lafayette, Louisiana. Really pissed off Greg and Stu, but he was a real winner at the pole vaulting event. And then he did the Turkish guy's celebration when he won, which was legendary.
Do you think that most people are still referring to these people, some of these people they're discovering, as the guy from that country or the woman from that country instead of by their name, correct?
I think Mondo's got an advantage that his name is so cool that
It's
everyone
easy.
knows it's Mondo now. And I'll not forget Mondo.
Yeah.
If I forget Mondo in 4 years, play this back to me.
Okay. You think that 4 years from now, all right, put it in the calendar, please. We're going to quiz.
4 months.
Well, because it was a few years ago that you said you would never forget a shot in a college basketball game that knocked off UConn. And I don't think you can name the teams, even though I just said one of them in the sentence.
Oh, man. Tennessee?
No.
You said you'd never forget that shot by that player. You'd never forget her name.
Yeah. Played UConn, right? It's a big upsets.
I mentioned that, yeah.
Ooh. South Carolina.
There you go.
No,
Yeah.
It wasn't South Carolina.
I thought it
It
was.
Oh, that's a fine.
Mississippi
It
State.
was definitely Mississippi State.
It was the Rebels.
I thought it was South Carolina,
No,
too.
the Bulldogs.
No,
Though I do have to issue an apology to famous HBCU Tennessee State. Memphis was once known as West Tennessee State, then later Memphis State. A lot of reincarnations there.
Okay, got it.
Tennessee State is also the Tigers, also blue and white, but not Memphis.
Got it.
A lot of corrections today.
Yeah.
There will be more.
However, it is very common for a city to be referred to as a state school. Fresno State, Boise State,
You're
Wichita
right.
State.
Yes.
Number 3, Raygun.
Oh, wow. Raygun makes the list. Congratulations.
She's got a PhD in cultural studies. She was the best breaker from Australia, allegedly. There's all sorts of conspiracy theories about if this was part of some sort of like social experiment that she will now be writing about in a future dissertation. Or she's just really bad and was exposed on a national scale, in which case I kind of feel bad for her. But either way, legend. We will not forget Raygun.
Well, which was it, though? Because I thought she said she was going for something creative, that she was not trying to compete against young people against whom athletically she could not compete. I thought she would, but she lost 54-0. I thought she was doing, and she lost all 3 rounds, but I thought she was trying to do something artistic.
Dan, I don't know, but it was, we actually got to witness it live on Friday's show. We were reacting live to breaking as it was happening on TV, and everyone in the room, including that room, was like, this Australian woman's like not very good.
She's bad. And this is why gatekeepers are a good thing, because she would have to do a web redemption on Tosh.0. And then we decide whether or not she could be famous.
Whether she could be a generation, whether she's allowed to represent a generation.
Breaking Bad.
That is what she was doing.
Yeah. Very nice. Thanks.
Number 2, Steve Nedorosik, pommel horse guy, helped the U.S. end their USA men's gymnastics drought in medaling at the all-around.
She needs the music.
Olympics.
The music.
This is like hearing.
I'm waiting.
It's
It's
like
not
hearing
coming.
Britney Spears a cappella.
Correct. That's right. You're right.
Hey,
Those
leave
are
Britney
dancing
alone.
knives.
Good. Yeah.
Leave Britney alone.
Love that woman. Anyways, Greg claimed that she shouldn't be allowed to, or he shouldn't be allowed to celebrate, and the team shouldn't be allowed to celebrate their bronzes, but they did, and he will forever be known as Pommel Horse Guy, and I miss him already.
And number 1, somebody beats Pommel Horse Guy.
There was this player in the Olympics. Have you guys heard of Steph Curry? He was amazing. I have never heard of this guy
Dude,
before.
that guy could shoot.
He had 4 3-pointers in a row to beat France in the men's basketball final. Absolutely remarkable. What an athlete.
The way that you guys describe that is funny. Imagine if you tuned into France and they had someone shooting like Steph Curry that you'd never heard of.
Yeah.
You'd be like so confused.
By the way, French Ben Wallace has like a $2.5 million buyout from Real Madrid. So some NBA teams reportedly sniffing around that.
Well, his name is Yasabelli. And
I trust you.
I'm not sure. I was asking. It was with a question. It was with a question mark. It was Yasabelli, Yababelli.
No, it's Yabusele.
I was calling him
Fine.
French Ben Wallace the entire time at the bar. It's hard to hear.
What I noticed, it wasn't just the dunks that I was noticing. It's his lower body seems to be a lot larger than most lower bodies I've seen playing basketball. So it was a little confusing when I'm watching a player. I'm like, why isn't he in the league if he's dunking on LeBron?
Well, he might be.
Hey, that didn't happen.
Yeah, you guys said that wasn't as bad as I thought it was, and I thought it was every bit as bad. I've never seen LeBron postered like that by anybody in this country.
Wait, who said it wasn't bad?
No, they were telling me he was trying to get the charge, and it isn't what it looked like. This is what they were saying to me yesterday, and I'm like, I think it's every bit as bad as it looked, and I think it's the first time I've ever seen LeBron postered like that.
It only looks bad because you never see LeBron get postered, but, I've seen worse.
I've seen it the last few years. You've seen it a few times the last few years because obviously that's the only place that his game has, to the eye, diminished is on defense, where he looks a little more lumbering.
And dunks get to live forever. It doesn't matter if it happens in a win or a loss. Sometimes all that people remember is the dunk. I remember when LeBron dunked over John Lucas. That was in a game that they lost. I believe Chris Bosh cried after that game, but we remember the dunk.
If the U.S. doesn't win this game, this 100% becomes the image of basketball in this tournament for the men's team. But obviously they won, so we can let it go.
We can remember the John Lucas dunk because LeBron jumped over an NBA player.
That's different.
Physically jumped over the entirety of his body in order to dunk.
Jumped over a human being during a game, not during like a dunk contest, during a game.
So did Vince Carter, right?
Part of what's memorable about that play to me is that none of us had ever heard of the guy dunking over him, and the guy dunking over him physically didn't look like the most athletic guy on the court. That's what shocked me
Well,
about it.
you say that, though, and he didn't look like the most athletic guy on the court because it was Team USA on the other side. But what I'm telling you about what I noticed about that guy is his lower body is thicker than everyone else's lower body who was playing in the game. And so when he when he did that to LeBron, that is not something that I have seen before. And LeBron is somebody, believe it or not, at 39, oldest player in the league, who will still try and take charges, which he should not be doing. I will tell you that is part of his retirement package.
What are you talking about?
I'm telling you that should be part of his retirement package. I believe he should be graced with this. The league should just tell him, look, just like the league changed all the rules for Tom Brady when he got hurt,
right.
as a thank you late in his career, thank you for being the oldest player in the league, LeBron, no longer are you to try and take any charges. You don't have to do that anymore.
Just in the regular season, though. Postseason is different,
No
right?
charges at any time.
What?
Nope, you are without, no. Stugotz, I don't know if you noticed, but early in his career, A-Rod was a 40-40 man. And they realized very early on, you know what? Home runs are really valuable. Stealing bases is going to mess up your fingers and stuff. You should probably stop stealing bases. Just go ahead and hit the home runs.
Good for the stat line, though.
Yeah, and he did it the first few years, and then they're like, never mind about the stolen bases. We prefer when you take 4 of the bases against everybody's will than 1 of the bases very quickly, running and possibly injuring yourself.
Are stolen bases coming back, though?
Yes,
because,
they are.
yeah,
Yes.
Ellie Cruz has proven like what a commodity this could be, and now they got those oven mitts.
Yeah,
all right.
Ridiculous. Cartoon gloves. They elongate the finger by about 5 inches. Ridiculous.
All right.
He's fired up.
Yes.
It's like cartoon mitts. It's like what Mickey Mouse wears on his hands.
It's cheating.
Except the fingers are like elongated, like a demon from hell.
No, it doesn't look like a demon from hell. It just looks like somebody who's baking and has an oversized oven mitt.
Yeah, but the fingers, they're creepy. I dream about them. I wake up, sit bolt upright in my bed screaming.
Sleep paralysis
fingers.
demon.
He sleeps with his legs crossed. So I want you to imagine him sitting up bolt upright, like the Undertaker, sitting up bolt upright. But again, crisscross applesauce at the knees. Nobody sleeps like that, right? Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Do you consistently sleep with your legs crisscross, apple cross?
It's truly creepy to stumble upon. Like
It's so nice.
I remember when I used to live at the house, he'd be on the couch sleeping this way. You know, it's like 12:30 at night, the TV's on, he's just on the couch, crisscross applesauce, laying down. It's jarring.
I sit that way watching TV. You know, I can still do it. You know, there's certain rituals I have in a physical nature that I continue to do all the time.
Right.
Just so I can prove I can still do it.
Dan, I looked this up. Man, you were right. In 1990, basically, Alex Rodriguez stopped stealing bases. It's
well, but it's because it's stupid. Like, why would you do that? Don't do that anymore.
I'm sorry. In 1995, he essentially stopped stealing bases.
Jeremy is exhausted out there. He's been breaking for two.
It's not breaking. He's wedding dancing. I mean,
he is sort of wedding dancing with occasionally he joins he goes on the cardboard on the floor. Thank you to all of you who are crucifying me already for crisscross apple crossed. I did say that. Jeremy, can you please go to the board behind you there because Yeah, Dan,
I got it.
Okay, that's a little bit much.
Sorry.
Okay, it's a little too breathy. A little. We need that to be.
Sorry, I feel like I'm gonna pass out a little.
Dial it down. I mean,
not surprisingly, let's zone in on that board that Jeremy has, and remember, Jeremy, we have an audio audience as well, so you're gonna have to describe or give some play-by-play of what's on that board.
You got it.
Jeremy, not surprisingly, has returned from vacation, and he is here after missing 2 weeks of the Olympics on air. He is desperate to have a microphone and explain to us why it is the Olympics were all about the Miami Heat, how the Olympics affected the Miami Heat. So can you please help me with what it is it says on that board? Please, a little less breathy. It's too much.
Okay. Sorry, one last inhale. All right. So, as all of you were paying attention to the Olympics, I was paying attention to the way that it would impact the Miami Heat in their future. So, Bam Adebayo is the centerpiece of that, obviously. Jimmy Butler, another guy with the Heat. Okay, so Bam Adebayo, he signed an extension where he has a player option for 2008 and 2029. We all know Jimmy Butler has a player option for next offseason. And Miami Heat only have 4 players who are under contract into the 27-28 season. Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez, Pelly Larson, and Khalil Ware. So why does all of that matter? Well, there were several whales on this Team USA team alongside Bam Adebayo. So Kevin Durant is the first. We've talked about Kevin Durant before. He and Bam spent a lot of time together during this offseason, posting selfies. Kevin Durant wearing a Florida Marlins hat. I mean, that's got to mean something, and it's definitely not just because he likes the teal color. But he is set to be a free agent in the 2026-27 season. Now, we all know the Phoenix Suns struggled last year. If they struggle again this year, could you see the Phoenix Suns blow it up and trade Devin Booker over to the Houston Rockets, who just acquired all of the Phoenix Suns picks, thus making Kevin Durant an older player in this league who needs to set up with the right role players, with the right stars alongside him to maximize his game? Maybe, just maybe, Kevin Durant ends up in Miami at this trade deadline. Again, I told you he'd be a free agent in 2026-27. Now, what does Steph Curry and LeBron James have to do with this? Well, after the Olympics, when LeBron was asked, hey, what's this team? What's this team? He called it the Avengers. Him, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant. And could the Avengers want to give it one try together? And could they assemble around Bam Adebayo here in Miami as they're all free agents in that 2026-2027 offseason? Maybe, just maybe, as the salary cap skyrockets, 10% increase from $141 million to $170 million 2 years from now. But I don't necessarily think that one's going to happen. Might be too pie in the sky. Kevin Durant, realistic.
Say. That one's
Steph
too much.
And LeBron, maybe just a little too much.
Well,
maybe just a little too much.
Put Bronny in there, too. Put an asterisk over there and Bronny.
He'll get to play with Bronny this year. Let's just point that out. He'll get to play with Bronny.
Right,
that checks off the list. Then what's the next goal? Maybe the Avengers. But we have two other players here, Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards. That's also the question. So if Kevin Durant ends up here in Miami, could we see the 3-year extension that we've talked about with Jimmy Butler buying out his next year player option and adding 2 years, and Kevin Durant getting an extension of a 1+1 after his free agency year, thus aligning their free agency the 2027-28 offseason? Maybe just potentially we see that with Anthony Davis signing his 3-year extension in LA with an opportunity to opt out in 2028. That would all line up to then sign a contract here in Miami to pair alongside Bam Adebayo, his big man. Yeah. And then Anthony Edwards, in the final year of his deal, requests a trade to Miami. Yeah. You end up with 3 years of Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, and Kevin Durant. And when Jimmy Butler and Kevin Durant are gone, Anthony Davis and Anthony Edwards to create a second dynasty.
All right, go ahead and sit in the penalty box.
Fair.
Just for those of you,
you got Anthony Davis's body holding up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Well, that's why financials will work, because he might not be worth all that much money by then.
He's very good at that. I mean, send him to the penalty box. He's very good at breaking that stuff down.
Make it happen, Pat.
He's very good at making sure that you know that the next Heat team will be just Team USA.
Did you guys see the picture of Kevin Durant going wee down the slide in Saint-Tropez?
Made me very happy.
It was cute.
Yeah, I want him to be happy. He generally doesn't give off happy all that much.
Did he literally say we?
I mean, look at the picture.
He doesn't give off we.
That's a we
Actually,
right there.
look, there's a scowl.
Hands are up. Yeah.
I don't see we there.
Yeah.
Mike, you know what? You are right. That is a man. I've never seen a person on a water slide not be happy.
We'll say, though, he's in great shape.
Well,
for Kevin Durant, especially. Look at those abs. He's got the Paul Rudd shreds.
So you're surprised that an NBA player who's great is in great shape?
I'm surprised that Kevin Durant is that muscular. Yeah.
Same.
Anytime I see a basketball player shoeless, I just look at their big toe. That's all. I can't not look at it.
What?
Yeah,
that's all I was looking at in that photo.
They wreck the feet. It's just the feet. What those guys do for a living makes them deformed later, or not even later in life. As they head into their 30s, their feet are deformed because you can't keep doing that up and down like that without.
Except for Michael's, his are fine.
You think Michael Jordan's feet are fine?
I'm sure they are. Yeah.
I think his feet look fine.
Yep, they do look good.
I think, and Kevin Durant's had foot issues in the past. Good job.
Achilles, I mean.
Good job.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Does Kevin Durant scowl while riding down the water flume? At Le Batard Show. I do believe Kevin Durant is one of the great examples in my lifetime in sports of someone who's enjoyment has been ravaged by us having too much access to them, ravaged by social media. I wonder if 10 or 20 years from now he will look back at this, the most glorious time of his life, and wonder to himself, man, did I need to be fighting everybody just because social media became popular while I was coming up, and I spent 15 years or 10 years just fighting everybody? Because these guys, largely, it's very hard for people who are competing at the top of greatness to stop and just enjoy what they're doing, because they got to beat the next guy because they're a bunch of younger people who want their millions. And he's fended everybody off for a decade, and none of us think he's enjoyed it. Now, we all know he loves basketball, and we all know he loves competing. That part he loves. But it doesn't seem like it to any of us that anything outside of that is something he loves.
What's enjoyable about fending people off your entire career? What is enjoyable about that? He has not enjoyed his career.
Stugotz, no matter how crazy Trump has gotten, I was watching some of this thing with Musk yesterday. I'm like, how does any human being endure what it is that he is under and sleep at night when you've got to knock down democracy in order to keep your prison? You're a rich guy trying to avoid prison, and you got to knock down democracy. Like, won't that make a 70? Look at what age has done to this room. At 78, you're fighting everybody like that. That sounded like a crazy person yesterday. Something between delirium and dementia. Like, it just sounded like somebody who's yammering on talking points, because how the hell do you sleep at night?
I don't really know Kevin Durant's personal life enough to know like if he's happy or not, but like he seems like someone that cares a lot about basketball and has been very successful at it and has made a lot of money. So I don't think we can assume that he is like some very depressed guy just because he's tweeting like dunks on Dennis Schroeder after winning the gold medal. Like I think a lot of people actually find that pretty amusing and funny, and like proof that he can laugh at like some of the absurdity of NBA Twitter and some of the comments around him.
Jessica, I'm not assuming depression. I'm not making synonymous with depression a joylessness. I'm saying that I don't get joy from living off of him. I'm not making him sad. Just I don't.
You guys said he was sad going down the slide, where it looked like a we. Like you don't put your hands up on the slide if you're sad.
I didn't see a we. There were a lot of false accusations. We chief among them, because that is not a face that is saying we. It might be saying yes in
the
French,
arms are saying
but
we.
it is not saying we.
The arms say we.
The arms are saying. Thank you, Greg. The arms are saying we.
I see with the arms like I see everyone else doing this.
Yeah,
so
but the face is saying get me off the slide.
Right.
I mean,
very much be a balance thing.
My argument was in seeing that is just that's the way his face is, because he's been fighting the internet for 10 years. He can't. He's like a mascot at this point. He can't move his face. The face is in the position that it's in.
That is not up for debate. Kevin Durant has been fighting the internet for a decade, and I think that time frame is key, because he's a man that's really struggled with the ramifications of making that decision to go to Golden State, because he was wildly popular because he wasn't LeBron in an era where not being LeBron had so much money and fame and adulation in it. Derrick Rose gets an MVP. Kevin Durant gets children's movies. Everyone loves Kevin Durant. And not unlike LeBron's decision, he joined a team that it felt like, hey, this is cheating the game a little bit.
He joined a team that didn't need him.
In the last 10 decades, I think, have been an example of him still like reconciling with that decision, because his persona did change along with it, as did his social media behavior.
Yes, the last 10 years, I correct you just before the buzzards do on that. The thing with Kevin Durant, to me, that is the most fascinating thing about it, because we talked the other day about LeBron James conquering the social media age and somehow coming through it without some giant controversy, when you don't get a textbook for this. Like, I don't know whether you guys remember, but I remember when LeBron joined Twitter as part of that original team, and not knowing what would come next. Imagine that you're Kevin Durant and you're as great as he is, which is, one of the 10 best players ever, 20 best players ever, wherever it is that you wish to put him. And you did the move to Golden State. You love basketball. Winning's fun. Basketball's fun. Competing is fun. You conquer everybody, and it blows you out after 4 years, when I don't know what you thought you were signing up for, but it probably wasn't what you thought you were signing up for. You got the winning, but you still got Stugotz saying you didn't earn it.
He didn't get the credit.
But LeBron did get the credit. And LeBron seems like he enjoys the entirety of the experience.
LeBron didn't join the best team in the history of the NBA.
I mean,
he kind of did.
I mean, he kind of made it as soon as as soon as he got here, he kind of they came out as if they were the best team in the NBA. That's how they came out. Before they played a game, that's what they did as 3 players.
Golden State won a championship before Kevin Durant got there with that core. They didn't need Kevin Durant.
I don't want to have that discussion with you again. I'm not.
They were the greatest team of all time in terms of wins.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I'm just saying whatever he thought he was getting in that transaction, he only got the championships, and it's obviously not enough because he then left fried, leaves Draymond Green, and is now on a water flume with all of us examining, hey, that looks like a permanent scowl.
It's not we.
Guys, come on. It's a we.
On Skibidi.
Jess and Greg, I know you're pretty fired up about this Jordan Chiles thing, and we've maybe touched on it this week, but we haven't gotten into this, and I want to, but I'm hoping one of you two are really informed on this because it's really confusing. We have a whole bunch of different governing bodies involved in this, and even how this came about was confusing. Truth be told, I was watching on mute when all this went down, so it was pretty hard to follow. I thought Jordan Chiles didn't win the bronze. Then there was a latency period, and then, amazing, Jordan Chiles gets the bronze, 2 U.S. medal winners, frankly, an iconic photo from the medal stand, and that's all good vibes. And then several days later, there's a report that comes out that says Jordan Chiles has to give the bronze medal back after days of celebrating, after this moment in time being ceremonialized with photographs and whatnot. She is on the books as not the bronze medal winner. Do I have this right so far?
So far, so good. I think it's worth mentioning that stripping an athlete of their medal is extremely rare and almost never happens except for in cases of doping or cheating, which is then like adjudicated oftentimes years later. So this is like a pretty crazy thing that's happening. And you're right. Like this played out very kind of confusingly if you're watching live during the floor routine final. What happened was the judges incorrectly scored the floor routine that she did. Her coach, Cecile Landy, filed an inquiry and said that they had initially scored it incorrectly. She didn't get credit for a split leap called a tour jet full, and then they reviewed it. They agreed that the inquiry was correct. They upped her score to a 13.766, which would have then put her in 3rd place, so she won the bronze medal. So then there was a Romanian inquiry the Romanian team their gymnast was initially in 3rd place. So there was an inquiry afterwards, and they claimed that the American inquiry happened after the 1-minute limit in which you can place an inquiry during a final during this event period. So they claim that inquiry was 4 seconds late. She did it after 64 seconds, so it shouldn't count. And then the United States said that this was kind of basically their statement was like, this is ridiculous. She earned it. The judges are the ones that initially made the mistake. They admitted their mistake. They were the ones that judged it incorrectly, and Jordan Chiles is being punished for their mistake. And then they further followed that up by saying, we have evidence that the inquiry was actually put in under a minute, and that, in fact, there were 2 inquiries put in about the score. So this is double wrong. You guys up twice.
Yeah.
The ruling up even more.
But appeals aren't allowed.
And then they said, you can't appeal that. And so there's like been this crazy back and forth. And now the last note is that USA Gymnastics is like, we are taking this up a notch to the higher court. Obviously, I'm trying to like explain all this without getting into the weeds.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to do.
Who can we be mad at? Because I wanted to be mad at the Olympics, I wanted to be mad at the judges, and then I saw a familiar name that I have PTSD over as a recovering Chelsea fan, the Court of Arbitration Sport. CAS made a ruling on this, and I'm on the record, don't like those guys. That CAS, terrible, weird logic with their rulings, seemingly double standards at every turn, and I just don't trust them whatsoever. And they made their way into this because everything, I guess, funneled to them. Greg, who are you mad at?
Well, the obvious solution here is give out 2 bronze medals. Okay, I don't even know how much precedent there is for that, but that would seem to be the fair solution here. I'm mad because this is a clerical issue. This is a dispute that comes down to a matter of seconds. The U.S. says that they had evidence that they filed this 13 seconds before the end of 1 minute. The other side says, no, they were 4 seconds late. So for a matter of 17 seconds dispute, a woman is denied a bronze medal that she appeared to have earned. Give them both the bronze medal. To take this away from Jordan Chiles is almost a criminal act. If you take away somebody's medal, as you said, Jess, because they cheated, because they were convicted or found guilty of doping, that's fine. Nobody argues. But in this case, I really feel bad for Jordan Chiles. I think it's criminal.
So the mind wanders to a couple of different places. How do you collect? Are you just asking Jordan Chiles to willingly give this over? What if she doesn't want to? What kind of punishments are in place? I don't know if she's slated for 2028. I guess that's a possibility, but they could hold her out of these events. What recourse do they have for collecting?
That is a great question. I do not know that specifically, but obviously I think it's worth mentioning that when you win a medal in an individual event like this, there are a lot of financial incentives. You may have payments from a sponsor. You may earn money from different places. Like, this is something that does really matter. You can make fun of like bronze medal. Who cares? It's just a bronze. Like, I've heard some of my friends have said that. And I'm like, well, this may actually have like tons of repercussions. Not to mention, she did earn it. And this entire inquiry was because the judges were incorrect. That part is not up for dispute. The judges incorrectly scored her routine, and that is a fact.
Yeah.
So the fact that she's being punished for them making a mistake, I think, is what is completely crazy about this entire thing.
All these are admin issues when the Olympics celebrate sport, and when we come down to the heart of the matter, she did what she had to do to win the medal. Everything that's getting in the way right now is bureaucratic nonsense. And I think someone should maybe get some altitude on the situation, realize what are we arguing over here for? Like, the fact remains that she scored better. The routine was better. We're worried. We're counting seconds now on whether or not an appeal was filed.
Yeah.
This is just kind of lame. If I'm Jordan, I say for my cold dead hands, and I see how this plays out, because you can't rip away the emotion. Like, she already had most of the joy that is associated with that kind of stuff. But as you mentioned fairly, yeah, there are sponsor bonuses. She came in a medal, and the Olympics are one of the wonderful places where we actually do celebrate coming second and coming third, because it's a monumental achievement. But I wonder, and the U.S. gymnastics statement was interesting because they appear to be out of moves, but they're trying to uncover new moves. Jordan is still in possession of this bronze medal. I wonder what she's considering. If she's just considering, like, all right, let's play hardball. Come and get it.
Yeah, that will be interesting to see what plays out. I think there's going to be public pressure to award 2 bronze medals in that event. I also think that history is going to see her as wrongly as being wronged here, as being the wronged party.
There are 2 victims here, I think, because this is an unfortunate thing for both competitors to go through. I think it's slightly more unfortunate for the girl that scored higher in the routine is because of bureaucracy getting this medal taken away from her. It all seems kind of lame.
I think U.S. gymnastics should make a stand in any way they can here. And as a small example, if Simone Biles leads like a medal tour, a tour of Team USA gymnasts who have won medals or what have you, Jordan Chiles absolutely should be included on that tour, and she'll get probably the second biggest hand after Simone Biles because of the way she was wronged out of a medal.
There is a way to play this and spin it to a greater win, and thankfully there's a supporting nation here. Everyone is pretty unified, at least in this country, that she is in the right. I'm not sure what the Romanian perspective is. Maybe it gets skewed a little bit if she decides to play hardball and not give this back. But in terms of punitive measures, I imagine they can ban her from competition if she doesn't go along with this.
I really don't know. I think it's also worth mentioning that Jordan Chiles' mom posted on Twitter that Jordan was the victim of a lot of, quote, racist, disgusting comments, and she was tired of people who says that it no longer exists. My daughter is a highly decorated Olympian with the biggest heart and level of sportsmanship, and she's being called disgusting things. So Jordan Chiles has now said that she's taking a step back from social media. So this has already taken a huge toll on her mentally from all accounts, and it's something that is just extremely, just a terrible thing to happen, and that everyone involved in this should be a little embarrassed.
Yeah, because the girls themselves are being let down by the system in place. This is nobody's fault but the judges and the bureaucracy.
Stugotz, this guy is a real pioneer. I remember the first time I noticed him, I just couldn't believe that he was getting everything right in election coverage. Nate Silver, it's been 20 years since he helped make sports nerds cool again with Baseball Prospectus. 14 years since he moved his data blog to the New York Times. 10 years since 538 moved to ESPN. And now it's been a year since he broke out on his own again from Disney with a newsletter called Silver Bulletin. He's got a new book out I'm eager to read, On the Edge, The Art of Risking Everything. Nate, thank you for making time for us and with us. Let's start with some election stuff because in November of 2016, the data or the nerds were wrong. I'm sure you're tired of explaining this one.
Of course, yeah.
It's something that you get beaten up with all the time. You gave Trump a higher chance of beating Clinton than most forecasters did, but even that was only 28.6%. And since then, I think people don't trust polling anymore. So what can you tell me about what happened there?
Well, I'd say that I see the world as a sports bettor might or a gambler might, because before I ever actually made an election forecast, I played poker professionally during the Chris Moneymaker poker boom years of mid 2000s. So to me, if you have a forecast saying the real odds are 3-1 or 2-1, and the betting line is 6-1, then you take that bet every time, right? Its expected value is positive over the long run. Now, I'm very aware, like, that's not a typical mindset for people in the politics world where they think, and the stakes are very high, obviously. People think every election's unique and is existentially important, but we're trying to be arm's length neutral forecasters. And that means thinking in terms of probabilities and not in terms of hard predictions.
In your book, you have a chapter on sports betting, and in 2022 and 2023, you bet close to $2 million on the NBA.
Yeah.
Explain.
Yeah, I thought I'm a big believer in having skin in the game, and I have an NBA model called Raptor. I've always liked gambling, and so I thought, how can I actually do if I try to beat the market myself? And the answer is I can make less than minimum wage, right? If you make $5,000 spending probably 500 hours of this, a quarter of my time over the course of a year, and you eke out a profit, which is hard to do actually, but you have a realistic sense for it really is a grind, and the guys who are the best at it are very, very good.
How'd you do?
So I made about $5K out of the $2 million in total wagers. I'm not counting I did have
not
one
worth
futures.
it. I mean.
Yeah, no, not worth it. I did have one futures bets on the Nuggets that turned out well, so that made it a better year. That brings me above minimum wage basically. But yeah, like a lot of people, I start off on a huge heater. I'm like, wow, I'm like God's gift to sports betting, it turns out. And then give all of it back, another heater, give almost all of it back. And you're like, you know what? There's one more round of the playoffs. Yeah, I'm going to take my $5,000 profit and pocket it and say that was a fun experience, but I'm not sure if I want to be on the roller coaster again.
If you're data obsessed, as I imagine you are, do you have a hard time getting your brain to stop?
Yeah, no, I was thinking the other day, how many hours a week do I work? I mean, maybe only 50 hours I'm at my computer, quote unquote, doing work, but I'm always in the back of my head thinking about the probabilities of something, thinking about how to write an article that's going to get more subscribers or things like that. And so, yeah, I always have a lot of RAM, I guess, that's, trying to figure out how to strategize something.
Mike Ryan has been having a hierarchy of fame around here for a long time, Stugotz. He says there's Taylor Swift fame, and then just slightly above that is Nate Silver at the Sloan Analytic Conference in 2012 fame.
Rockstar.
Yeah. You knew when he walked into a room.
Yeah. It was total lunacy back then. Is that the greatest time that there's ever been to be Nate Silver? Not just 2012, but walking into the Sloan Conference.
No, because first of all, I'm somewhat extroverted, but no, it's terrifying actually for me to be. The idea of me being a celebrity is inherently terrifying on every level. And look, anytime some nerd becomes successful, right? Anytime there's a Jeopardy champion, for example, or the guy who made Wordle, I'm fame is very much a mixed blessing. I think a lot of people, I made the mistake, I think, of trying to build a whole brand around it at Disney, ESPN. And I'm not sure it worked because in some ways you are the brand, and also there are lots of ways in which Disney's very risk averse and wasn't really able to monetize the company. But no, I'm having much more fun now than any election since 2008 when it was all getting started. It feels a lot fresher. The incentives when you're totally on your own and you capture your business yourself or with your other employees. I mean, it's just much more my speed, and it's like the right level of minor celebrity, I suppose, now.
2 months ago, I want to get back to something here. And yes, you're right. It is a great blessing. Self-employment is also very difficult. It's invigorating, but to get to share it with the people that you care about and not have to be encumbered by the principles of others is liberating. But 2 months ago, Monmouth University found that 32% of Americans still believe that Biden only won the presidency because of voter fraud. Can you please explain to our audience, the difficulties of misinformation, the danger of misinformation?
Yeah, look, and I'm not too much of a partisan. I say lots of things that annoy Democrats from time to time. But the election system in the United States is one of the most decentralized processes anywhere in the world, where it's a lot of local volunteers at local polling stations. And there are lots and lots and lots of checks and balances. And by the way, it shouldn't have been surprising that, Trump lost this election during COVID when things were going haywire. People were upset at him, and Biden at that time, I think, was kind of the irresponsible choice. But no, look, there's lots of things where I agree with people who might be skeptical of the establishment, like on some of the COVID stuff, for example. But no, the election was not stolen. I'm sure I'll get some hate mail for that, but that's not in touch with reality.
But what about the dangers of misinformation? Because I would guess, Nate, and I know that you are thorough and qualified and you're about facts, but I'm guessing that you're perpetually easily dismissed in this age as just the thing that people associate with you as, he was wrong in 2016 because the pollers don't know.
Look, part of what the model does is it provides uncertainty because the polls are sometimes wrong, right? We're trying to quantify if you have a, 17-14 lead going into the fourth quarter, you haven't won the game yet, obviously. But look, I think misinformation is a category that maybe needs to be recalibrated a bit. I mean, sometimes people thought that talking about Biden's age was misinformation when 80% of voters thought it was a big deal, and it's objectively reasonable to think a guy shouldn't be president until he's 86. Trump would be 82, by the way. And so I think that has become a partisan label sometimes, which lessens its power into cases where it really needs to be applied and is deserved, like the election fraud stuff, like the QAnon stuff. People need to think more about their credibility, and that should be reserved for rare cases that it's overwhelmingly true that it's misinformation, and it gets applied too widely sometimes, I think.
Well, you were very critical of the mainstream media's, quote, reality distortion and ignoring Biden's decline. How badly do you think Biden would have lost if he'd stayed in?
I mean, he was down by 4 points in national polls at the time he dropped out, and losing by 4 points to Donald Trump in the popular vote is hard, right? He lost the popular vote to Hillary Clinton by a pretty good margin, lost to Biden by 4.5 points 4 years ago. Look, in some ways, it's amazing that he was only 4 points behind, and it speaks to the limitations of Trump's campaign and him as a candidate. Because, at that debate and at half of his public appearances, he was, I think there were questions about was he fit for office right now and asking for 4 more years. We probably all had older relatives or friends who were in a phase where they were not themselves very consistently, and so they were kind of trying to put the wool over people's eyes when every American has experience with this nonlinear decline in people's capabilities that you can experience when they get into their 70s, early 80s. And so they ultimately came to their senses and made a decision that, took their odds of winning from quite remote to somewhere in the neighborhood of 50-50.
Hey, Nate, fan of yours. In 2016, a lot of the shock that came with that was because social media was a bit of an echo chamber, and it kind of magnified Hillary's chances in ways that I think we're kind of seeing play out a little bit now. What do you make of X being kind of overtly used as a political weapon, and are we going to see a replay of 2016, but just the exact opposite? Yeah,
look, I like some things that Elon's done with X. but I would like to see a more kind of balanced culture there when different sides can have their fight, not putting on the same scale, putting a thumb on the scale. But yeah, look, I worry about a little bit of irrational exuberance right now about Kamala Harris. She has gained in the polls. It's been a steady trajectory up. However, she's going to have at least one debate of her own. There is inflation that's still a memory for people. There's the fact that Biden himself is a little bit of a liability and remains very unpopular. There's things like immigration and the border. There's the fact that Harris ran pretty far to her left in 2020. So if I were Trump, I would think, okay, we've lost our lead. We're in a real race now, but we have plenty of ammunition that doesn't rely on misinformation, et cetera. But they seem to have, I'm not sure whether I'm allowed to swear or not, but they seem to have been very, very flat-footed after the candidate was switched. I think they thought that Democrats would behave like them, which means that, Trump is a personality cult and Trump always wins his internal battles against Republicans, whereas Biden does not. Biden was kind of chosen by the party to be Barack Obama's running mate and then chosen by the party. You had basically a, four-way tie with him and Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders, and he was elevated by the party in 2020. And so if the party wanted him in, then the party can knock him out of the race, and they did. And the Trump campaign was surprised by that. They should have been spending half their bandwidth on their Harris messaging, but instead they've let J.D. Vance get defined in a very negative way. Tim Walz get defined in a positive way. Kamala Harris, who was very unpopular, get defined in at least a neutral way. And so they have lost a lot of really valuable time.
You can curse. You're allowed. The latest New York Times poll shows Kamala Harris up by 4% in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Are those numbers inflated? Can she keep that up?
I don't think they're inflated right now. I think they'll probably revert to the long-term mean a little bit, right? We know that under Biden, under Clinton, these states were very close, coming down to about 1 point either way, and that's probably the still safest guess. Our model assumes that Harris is on a little bit of a sugar high right now, and might come down to earth. And remember, Democrats can win the popular vote and lose the Electoral College like Clinton did in 2016. But certainly the trajectory has been positive. And frankly, I thought she'd be a league average candidate at best. And I think she has performed well in the clutch so far. We'll see if that continues, but she's a much better candidate than she was 4 years ago, to a degree that I have to admit I'm surprised by.
Let's move to something interesting. On your patented vibe score, you have Magic and Steph. You have them in a three-way tie with Shaq for second best all time, behind only Bill Russell. And my question for you is, has Vibe Score, which you own, you patented, have they ever heard of Michael Jordan?
I guess Michael Jordan's a little bit polarizing. I grew up a Detroit Pistons fan. So we had very ambivalent feelings about Michael Jordan, later moved to Chicago. But no, which athletes it's hard to be truly beloved in an era like this one. And Steph, especially after the gold medal game, really pulls it off. He's the only contemporary player who's up there. I mean, Magic is kind of a little bit more, obviously, still doing well. But Steph is maybe he's the last universally well-liked athlete in America. More people are more like LeBron, who's amazing, but polarizing. Whereas just everybody loves Steph. Everyone roots for the Warriors. Everyone roots for Team USA. And I don't know. And I think he's now assuming correctly his role. That article is about how Steph is now in the inner circle of all-time greats, right? Not MJ, not LeBron, not Kareem. But then you start to get in the Magic Johnson discussions and the Larry Bird discussions, and his career kind of has a lot of parallels as far as career length and MVPs and hardware, and just how, like Magic Johnson, totally changed how the game was played forever in a way that's very watchable and very appealing, and did wonders for the sport.
Let's talk a little bit about your career. 538 started at ESPN in 2014. In between, you had Trump going after Jemele Hill, tweeting, quote, ESPN is paying a really big price for its politics. You had my stuff. You had Jimmy Pitaro named president in March of 2018 with his mantra of, quote, serving sports fans. And then a month later, Disney transfers your site to ABC News. What happened there?
Look, I think that timing is half coincidental. I think more of it has to do with the fact that we always got more traffic from our news and politics stuff than from our sports stuff. But yeah, look, when you sign up with a giant corporate entity, then you are, you're like a barnacle on a blue whale is the analogy I use, that you're governed by forces that have little or nothing to do with you. We're a site about politics, 538 we were, but we weren't very political, I don't think. I'm a pretty centrist guy myself. And we're very numbers driven ourselves. But yeah, I mean, look, the bigger problem at ESPN is they think so much in terms of gigantic scale, right? These gigantic rights fees with leagues, and Disney thinks about theme parks and movies, which have 9-figure price tags, and 538 was a small little business and could have been a very good business, it turned out. I mean, the subscriber numbers on my newsletter suggest that a lot of money was left on the table by Disney, and I guess I'm lucky that like now I can capture some of that myself. But we were trying to make it like a big mass brand instead of like a quirky niche brand. And look, if you look at like ESPN from 15 years ago, where you have Page Two, and you have, quirky personalities like yourself who are smart and opinionated, but not towing the party line necessarily. I mean, most of that stuff has been lost. I mean, there are ESPN contributors I still really love. I mean, Zach Lowe is my absolute first podcast listen if I'm going for a run or something like that. But they've removed some of the things that made it different and fun. And they've lost some brand differentiation and become like just very mass market, which is fine. But I don't think I'm a mass market brand. I think I'm kind of like a specialty, if you will.
Is that why you left during layoffs last year, or is there another reason that you left?
I mean, the immediate cause was that like they laid off about 3/4 of the staff at 538. My contract was not looking great. I'm not going to pretend we had some like amazing deal on the table. So that's half of it. But also like I knew from the start that the Substack thing, my newsletter is called Silver Bulletin, it's at Substack, fit my skill set really well. I have the gift of like writing really fast. I just don't know where that comes from, but like I can write good copy pretty quickly. I've spent a lot of time in the business, been through a lot of cycles, so I know what headlines work, what images work. I know, when you put a hard sell on something or a soft sell, or how to promote something or take a boring post to make it interesting. And so that really plays to my strengths, and dictating my own schedule. I have at the moment one employee. We'll do some more hiring, I'm sure, when we come up for oxygen from the election. And the incentives, I don't know. I work so much harder when you capture the growth in the business yourself, and it's not some giant rounding error on a spreadsheet in Burbank somewhere.
We'll get back to your life and career in just a second, or Dan will, but according to your shooting stats, Steph and Bird are basically tied. Luckily for you, Nate, I have a way of settling this, okay? Shot for your life. The ball needs to go in, right? You need to decide between one of these two guys. If it goes in, you're living. If it doesn't, you die. Sorry. That's the game. Shot for your life. Steph Curry, Larry Bird.
Steph Curry. Not even close.
You're dead. Yeah, you died.
Okay.
What? What do you mean he's dead?
The answer's always Larry Bird.
What do you mean the answer's always Larry Bird?
He's like not only the best, he is like better at that one skill, shooting a basketball, than like any athlete is at anything almost. Maybe individual sports like gymnastics, Simone Biles, or tennis or something. But he is just so amazingly good at the skill that happens to be the most important skill. It's an offensive game. It's mostly, half of it is shooting roughly. And he is so uncannily good at that, where you can be watching that gold medal game and you're like, that shot might go in, right? I didn't say I didn't have doubts, but you're like, that might actually work because it's Steph, and no other player in the world in the history of the NBA could take that shot. And you'd say, oh, I'll take it.
Mike, do you find it as funny as I do that Nate Silver, with all of his data, bet nearly $2 million on the NBA and ended up making $5,000 and then reverse engineers it to it was sort of like minimum wage.
Yeah. There's a wise man once said, you never feel more alive than when they're raking the chips away.
It's amazing, Nate. At the end of that, did you because you're pouring all of your data into it, and you know so much about things, and you think you're finding these secret wins in the margins because your information is better than everyone else. And then at the end of it, it is great that you didn't lose money, but making $5,000 on a $2 million bet, I could have put it in government bonds and gotten more than that.
No, look, I mean, you're pressing refresh on the NBA injury report, right? You're scrolling here's a Bam Adebayo injury update. He looks pretty good and shoot around, right? And becoming a total degenerate. It's kind of fun to see how that life is experienced. So it is a grind. It's not easy money. But I wanted to have some skin in the game. If I'm going to write about this material, then I want to know what it feels like to go on a winning streak and a losing streak. And you can say in the abstract, oh, it's just random. But trust me, when you experience a $80,000 upward swing and then a $75,000 downswing, basically, it doesn't feel like luck. It feels like the fate of the world's been decided for you somehow.
All right, Nate, who wins this thing?
If you were a poker player, then we have Harris a 54-46 edge. So, look, if you're a poker player, you know what that means. We know that 54% is just slightly better than 50%, but we also know that you're going to lose almost half the time. I would rather have her hand to play, especially given how Trump has played his hand recently. But it's a long way from over, and it's not a cliche to say it's a toss-up.
So we have pocket jacks, and they have ace king offsuit.
Yeah, if you really know the detail, you know that pocket jacks actually wins a majority of the time. It beats ace king offsuit 55, 56% of the time, right? So that's a range we're in. But even poker players call that a race or a flip or a coin flip, because we've experienced a long run where that 46% comes up 40% of the time, which is quite a bit.
Again, I will tell you, Stugotz, that this person came into my life as a name because he got everything right everything right before 2016. His expertise, his data is very good, and he just gave us the profound wisdom of 54% is slightly better than 50%, which is totally true.
Yeah.
But it's like, in some ways, I feel like I'm spending a lot of time like pointing out the obvious, right? Like, oh yeah, Clinton's ahead in the polls, but also the polls are wrong sometimes. This isn't like any act of genius exactly. You're like, oh yeah, Biden's really old and people really care about that. Maybe you should try a different candidate if you want to win. It's like not like rocket science exactly. But for some reason, people's circuits go a little bit haywire when it comes to politics versus sports. I think sports fans understand there's some luck involved if a pass is tipped and the strong safety intercepts it or something like that when it was a good pass. They understand that there's some luck involved, whereas people in politics don't want to think that way, even though, I mean, there are contingencies that are also essentially random in politics. Think of that afternoon in Pennsylvania where Trump, just in the nick of time, turned his head so the bullet just nicked his ear. I mean, that could have been a tragic and very different twist of fate in American politics that came down to kind of the way the wind was blowing and what Trump was doing with the slide he was looking at. And so, the fact that the Biden people thought it would be smart to move the debate up. And Trump said, yes, of course, we want a debate because I'm going to crush him. And Trump did crush him, but crushed him so bad that they replaced him. I mean, this isn't all. As you start to meet people, and in the book, I talk to billionaires and people like that. These are still vulnerable human beings who sometimes make dumb decisions and get lucky or unlucky for the right or the wrong reasons.
The name of the book, again, is On the Edge, The Art of Risking Everything. And you have a chapter in the book called 13 Habits of Highly Successful Risk Takers. What would you tell the audience before they've seen the book are the most important habits for correctly taking risk? Because most people are aversive to change.
Yeah, look, I think most people don't take enough risk, at least when it comes to like changes they make in their career and their professional life. I'm not saying you should go skydiving or anything like that. So I know it's a cliche, but one of the most important things is the importance of being cool under pressure. In poker, you're making decisions sometimes for thousands of times more than in your like Tuesday night beer league game. And like, are you possessed of the moment? So I talked to actually some people who are not quants, but I talked to like an astronaut for the book, one of the first women in space. And I talked to a guy who was a former fighter pilot and now is an explorer. I talked to a former NFL player, and they're like, yeah, if you understand that when you're under extreme stress, that your body acts differently, your heart rate goes up, your perception of time goes way down, you're operating on a different system, on different software. If you can master that, and I mean, this is what Michael Jordan called being in the zone, where some people really relish that feeling. It's a different feeling. I mean, in politics, you saw this moment where Trump was in the zone after the attempt in Pennsylvania, and Biden was not a capable political athlete at the debate. He choked, I think is one way to put it. I mean, he isn't necessarily fantastic on his best day, but he's okay. But in that environment with the pressure on, he choked. The good news, though, is that you can learn how to adapt to these situations a bit. I mean, most of the candidates we think of as being these great political athletes had some failures at some point along the way. Barack Obama lost his first congressional primary in 2000, I think it was. Bill Clinton gave a terrible speech in 1988 at the Democratic Convention where he was basically booed off the stage, came back to win the nomination 4 years later. And so, if Harris has learned to deal with the stress and everything more capably the second time around and is having fun with it, then maybe it shouldn't be surprising that like a former number one pick who takes a few years to get going, then maybe she actually is living up to her original talent when she's facing high stakes circumstances.
Nate, a pleasure, sir. Thank you for the work that you do. It is appreciated, even though it might not always feel like it is appreciated.
Sorry about your death, too. I mean,
sorry that Stugotz killed you as well for daring to take Steph Curry over Larry Bird.
He did it to himself. I mean.
Yeah, he did do it to himself.
I'll take my chances. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you, Nate. Look at how good and healthy this man looks. Look at him drinking his healthy drinks. How good do you feel, Charles? Like you're looking skinny again? You're looking healthy? How good do you feel, buddy?
Hey, brother. Dr. Andrews told me, ain't no fat old people. Got to get my ass in shape, Dan.
You've struggled with that, though, right? That's gone up and down over the years. Dr. Andrews been telling you that for a long time.
Yeah, but it didn't matter. It didn't bother me when I was. It didn't bother me when I was young. It bothered me now that I'm old.
It's nice to see you, buddy. It has been too long. Thank you for being on with us.
I was going to say, I miss Charles Barkley. He used to join us all the time. He's not around as much as he used to be. I see him in Lake Tahoe. He gives me a hug, but I miss you, Charles.
Hey, listen, all Dan got to do is call me. That's all he got to do.
You don't miss me, though. Okay.
Dude, I always got love here. You know that.
How did you react to the events of the weekend, seeing will there ever be a shooter like Steph Curry again? I know there hasn't been a shooter like Steph Curry, but will there ever be a shooter like Steph Curry again?
That's a great question. I doubt it. But number one, his range. Like, we've never had a player that once he steps across half court, you have to guard him. I mean, that's the thing that's remarkable to me. Like, most guys, you're like, yeah, you can take that shot. We don't give a damn. You're going to shoot from three-quarter court. It's good. But he makes them consistently. So, no, I don't know what the range. No. Because number one, I don't think you would teach anybody that, Dan.
Well, I don't even understand what I'm watching when I see him shoot with that kind of proficiency from that range. But how do you experience the game on Saturday? Like, where are you watching it, and what is your reaction to, Steph's got the ball, and all of the best players in the world are going to make sure to get him the ball wherever it is that he is, because everyone understands what they're watching, and he needs to be the one shooting?
Yeah, actually the last two games, I was actually visiting my grandkids. It was pretty cool. Shout out to little Henry and little Charlie, man. What a great weekend. But I made sure I want to watch both games because I told people when I was on the NBC last week, I said Serbia is a dangerous game, man, because they played possum the first two games. They didn't care because they wouldn't melt around games. And I says they got the best player in the world. So they got to be ready to play because they didn't even care in that preseason game and then the early round games. Those didn't matter. And I thought they'd be like, let's get the USA overconfident, and then we're going to punch them in the mouth when the game starts. And that's exactly what happened. And then obviously Steph took over down the stretch. And obviously yesterday, that was a heck of a game. They needed it all. But when he put on those displays the last couple of minutes, man, it was beautiful to watch. I don't think the game should be that close personally because they waited to Serbia to play defense in the last quarter. They had to start the game like that. It would have been a much easier game. And I think, France is not good enough to beat them. And so it was a great thing. Man, and I've said this many times, the Olympics are the greatest sporting event in the world. There's nothing comparable to it. Not the Super Bowl, not the World Championship, not the Stanley Cup Finals is amazing. That's probably my favorite event, the Stanley Cup playoffs. But as far as the Olympics, Dan, Stu, it's the best thing I've ever been a part of.
You said you were critical of Kerr, and you said that that team should not be tested. And Kendrick Perkins said that was an asinine take. That of course they should be tested.
First of all, don't bring up a guy who averages 5 points a game. I'm not going to stoop to his level. You average 5 points a game, shut the hell up. Dan, let me ask you a question. Who was the second best player on Serbia?
No, buddy. Look, I don't think they should have been tested either.
My question was, number one, they got Joker, but the second best player on their team was Bogdanovic. Does McDonough make the United States Olympic team? Under no circumstances he make the Olympic team. I think they played too slow because you could see what Joker was doing. He was milking the clock. He would take the ball out of bounds and roll it up the court. They turned the 40-minute game basically into like a 35 to 37-minute game. So they let them play slow. I think they should have played a lot faster. And that every time we say something now, people go crazy. There's no reason for him not to play Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum would have been the second best player on Serbia. Probably would have been the best player on France. For him not to get any minutes in 2 games, come on, man, that wasn't right. That wasn't fair. If you go into the Olympics, you want to play. You want to play. So I was disappointed Jason didn't get to play. I was disappointed in Halliburton, especially early. Like, if you want to shorten your rotation in the last couple of games, that's fine. But them guys dedicated their summer to the United States to go over there and not get to play. I didn't like that at all.
Charles, would you be willing to take our recommendation that you change the name of the show from Inside the NBA to Outside of the NBA?
Yes.
Outside of the NBA.
Do it, Charles.
Hey, Dan. How about not NBA? Not the NBA.
Are you guys? You really have no idea. You're going to try and do the same show, but you have no idea what you're going to be talking about.
I'm so there for that, man.
Hey, Dan, 100%. And what's crazy? I think we're gonna have to pay for highlights.
What?
Yeah, for highlights of things that you don't have the rights to. Yeah, you will have to pay for video there to have video. I was explaining to them last week that would be a very difficult show for you guys to do without video of the NBA.
So I think we're gonna have to buy NBA highlights. I mean, Dan, it is such a fluid situation. The thing that's gonna be interesting is, we got the NBA all next year, no matter what. And it's going to be interesting what crazy ideas they come to us with going forward. That's what's going to be fascinating. Like, what do you guys think about doing this next year? And we're going to look at each other like, okay. So, like I say, man, it's a very fascinating situation. But the number one thing for me is my people at Turner get to keep their jobs for at least another year. And that's all I was concerned with.
Charles, how much money do you think that you left on the table in making that decision concerned about others?
A minimum of $100 million.
Jeez.
A minimum.
Man.
Yeah, because I imagine it was a lot of fun to be you recently, right? In free agency, that had to feel good, even as you're thinking to yourself in these meetings, because I talked to you a little bit at least. You're like, I'm not.
Yeah, 100%. It was a great feeling. And I want to thank all those networks for reaching out to me. It was really humbling and cool. It was humbling and cool. And so I really, it was really humbling and cool, to be honest with you. But I wasn't even like I said, Dan, even though they were throwing crazy numbers, I was like, damn. Yeah, but as long as I got my people safe at TNT, man, I feel really good. Like I say, they're going to pay me to go and talk about nothing, so I can't look a give horse in the mouth.
Before we
Hey, Dan, I probably would have had to do an honest day's work if I went to one of those other networks.
Not here, though, Charles. I mean,
not at Metal Arc Media. You would not have to do an honest day's work. We will let you go on this note.
I'm concerned for Charles because I feel like he's never going to quit. Because every year, Turner will send a new employee in there and say, hey, wife, kids, mortgage, and Charles is back.
That's what I would do if I were Turner. I would just keep sending employees with kids in to talk about their mortgages. It is. It's a good move. They know now how to sucker him. They will. They will have your.
Dan, hey, Stu. I'll be coming into work with a cane and a walker, I be coming to work with a cane and a walker, like, welcome to outside. Well, no NBA.
Outside the NBA is good, Charles.
You've got it too young, Charles. They're going to have your coffin up there in a chair, and they're going to open it up and mic it up. Your coffin 7 years after your death.
Hey, I'll be like, Shaq, you got any more of that icy hot? Because I'm barely making it right now. I'm going to be putting icy hot on every part of my body, be borrowing from Shaq.
Last thing before we let you go, Charles, your take on what is happening here 3 months outside of the election. Like, what have you found interesting as someone who is always interested in race in America and just the politics of America? What are you thinking here over the next 3 months?
Yeah, I was hoping she took Shapiro, to be honest with you, the governor of Pennsylvania, and Mark Kelly. I don't know a lot about her running mate, but I really am a big Josh Shapiro fan. And I'm a really good, I'm actually casual friends with Mark Kelly. I'm a big Kelly fan, him and Gabby. I love those two. I'm trying to learn. She's going to have to address the border situation because the border is a mess. The inflation thing, I don't blame inflation on whoever the president is, but she's going to have to address the border situation. The border is a mess. The woman dynamic is very interesting because, America is still sexist. Well, we can throw race in there too. They're racist too. So, man, it's a lot of moving parts. I'm not a Trump guy. Because I just think if you're going to be the president, you need to act a certain way. Even if I disagree with your politics, you're the president of the United States. You should be a gentleman and act a certain way. But I've got to learn more about her policies. Like I say, the border thing is a big deal to me, man, because we can't just let people come. And not only that, in some of these cities, they're getting benefits that Americans don't get. That cannot happen under any circumstances. Now, I'm all for immigration if it's done the right way, but we just can't have people jumping over here and giving them health care, putting them up, giving them stipends and things like that. That cannot happen, man. We got so many amazing people who bust their hump all the time. We need to be taking care of those people. So she's going to have to address the immigration thing for me. But like I say, I would have felt a lot better if she had taken Shapiro or Kelly. I don't know a lot about this governor, but man, I just hope it's civil. I just hope it's civil because whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, Conservative, Liberal, whatever, man, we're all Americans. We all want the same things. So I'm just hoping it's civil because, man, we live in Dan, we're such assholes here. These politicians, both parties are awful. And we're kind of like pawns in a chess game, and we don't even know we're pawns in a chess game. They're just moving us all over the place to piss us off, to make us mad and vote one way. But man, we're all from the United States. We're in the best country in the world, and we don't appreciate it. And that's probably the thing that frustrates me the most.
Love you, buddy. Good catching up with you. Thank you for making the time. Yes,
hey, Stu.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here we go.
Dan's an ass. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Your words, not mine.
Have you? Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. I'll worry about the DM you sent me. Dan, have you ever asked me to be on your show, and I didn't be on your show?
No.
Okay. So don't act like I haven't been on your damn show.
I didn't say it. He did. I didn't say
he hasn't asked you in a while. I just said I missed you. That's all. It was just me saying I missed you, Charles.
Dan, I've told you, Dan, Stuart, no disrespect to you. Dan, I love you like a brother, man. Your mom is one of my favorite people in the world. I love sending her pictures of my grandkids. Now, I want to punch your dad in the head, okay? I'm trying to get Dana White to do an MMA fight between me and your dad. Because I don't want to come to your house. I don't want to come to your house and see you. I want the America to see me beat his ass. I want the whole wide world to see me kicking his ass.
He's Biden's age, Charles. What is the appeal on pay-per-view of you kicking my dad's ass?
Oh, I'm there.
So what? We gonna get him to run for president too?
See you later, Charles. I'll send my father your regards.
Hey. Send your dad this.
Okay, there it is. See you later.
That's the oldest you've ever looked.
See you later, Charles.
Love y'all.
I love you, Charles. See ya.
Greg, Leagues Cup is still going on. Inter Miami have a big impending matchup coming up against Columbus Crew, the reigning MLS Cup champions. Reigning Leagues Cup champion against reigning MLS Cup champions. Doesn't appear like Messi is going to be available for this one, and that's been all too common. Messi has missed more than half of the matches available to him as an Inter Miami player. You're already seeing the ticket market, Inter Miami themselves putting out discount pricing for Leagues Cup, $25 deals. The crowds are looking thinner and thinner, and recently Governor DeSantis handed over a check to the Moss family of $8 million. Guys, we understand how the sausage gets made when it comes to how political donations are taken care of. Ron DeSantis, who was all of a sudden running on a platform of never publicly funding anything like this, is handing over an $8 million check. I think you can actually make an argument for the infrastructure aspects of this deal. Traffic concerns were one of the main concerns that people had when they lined up in opposition against this stadium. However, there's reportedly earmarks for $3 million on construction pricing. I haven't heard strong rebuttals from Inter Miami on that. The one biggest mistake here that Governor DeSantis and the Moss family made was just take your money quietly. Like, you're not even making Billy Corbin Photoshop this one. You're handing an oversized check for something that got over the line and voted on because it was proudly a private enterprise. It's a bad look all around, I think.
You're not only publicizing it, you're putting Lionel Messi, who's injured and not playing, you're putting him out there as a political pawn to pose with DeSantis and the Moss brothers, a show pony for this whole thing. I think they put him in a bad position, Messi. I don't like the governor of our state. It's a dystopian state under Ron DeSantis. I'm never going to agree with anything he does, including what he did here. But you're right. Messi's missed 17 of 29 Inter Miami games this season, including the match against Columbus. And I think the Leagues Cup run is about to end because they're playing one of the three best teams in the league. It's a whole different level of competition. It's at Columbus, so it's very tough ask for them to win without Messi.
Generally, I don't think Inter Miami likes me very much just because of my stances on them raising ticket prices and whatnot. I think the Moss family has done a tremendous job by South Florida. They got the whale. They delivered on a big promise, and naturally, headaches with your stadium, that's not new in sports. These things don't necessarily always adhere to timelines. Hell, by the initial timeline, they should have been in this stadium already, and we haven't seen a pillar go up into the sky. I don't really have that much of an issue with this, only that it goes against both what DeSantis ran on and what this thing got voted on, because this was a private enterprise.
Right.
This was privately funded proudly. I do agree with building roads and infrastructure because that was the main opposition against this, outside of don't give any public money to that. There is public money, $8 million now going to this project. I think that's a drop in a bucket. I actually do think this might be a case of the government working for its people, but I think that the Moss family and Governor DeSantis put themselves in a position to receive what is fair criticism. Look, Moss Tech had a record revenue quarter. They're doing fantastic. And as a former season ticket holder, I kind of feel like while the Messi thing is great, a lot of that cost got kicked down to the season ticket holders, as did a lot of the stadium costs. And I don't necessarily think that's all that fair. We live in free market capital state of Florida. I get all of that. My main objection is don't rub people's faces in it with this photo op. You mentioned Messi being there as a political tool. Messi being brought over here did get them some capital. I don't think any of this happens without them landing Messi first, and you can credit them for landing Messi. Now, if you're hurt by what is happening here and you're still supporting this club, you kind of want to see Messi go out there, and there are only so many things in their control. Messi needs to start playing.
Yeah, and this is also a club that needs to appeal to its fans after Messi's gone. Cherish him while you can, though, because appreciation for him, in my mind, has grown in his absence when you see all the games he's missing, because when he's not out there bringing his electricity and magic, everything sags. TV ratings sag, ticket prices go down, everything.
Oddly, the thing that's not really sagging is the team's performance, though, because they're playing really well without him, and this is a great measuring stick to see if they can do that without Messi against arguably the best team in the league right now. All in all, the Inter Miami Messi experience has been one to celebrate. I think they had a misstep last week.
Sounds like a messy situation.
Go back to dancing.